Greetings, citizens of the Republic. I am Josh, and welcome to. This is a live stream on channel. It's just gonna be a video on mine, but welcome to just a bit of a chat thing. So today I'm joined by Ace.
Oh, me, Ace Moic.
And
Myself, Illium18.
all right, so today we're just gonna be discussing some random Star Wars related topics. Ace, I guess you can start.
Well, most of the things I've got in mind is, has anyone been reading any of the new EU stuff or any of the old expanded universe, legends of late?
No.
Not really? What about you, Illium?
I don't, I don't think it's legend. I think it's canon. I think I've been watching a few videos on how Yoda thinks that Palpatine's stronger in the Force than him, and Yoda thinks he's a better lightsaber duelist and stuff like that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like Stupendous Wave and Star Wars Theory. That's basically where I get most of my lore information from. Those two guys. So yeah.
I'm such a Star Wars nerd when it comes to Star Wars. I know, like any lore-based question you can ask, odds are I know the answers.
Yeah, it's I only started really getting into the lore. Ironically, it was The Last Jedi, because that film confused me quite a lot.
The Last
to the
Jedi.
point, to the point, it confused me so much that I was like, you know what, I need to actually go deeper into the lore, and that's when Darth Bane and Darth Tenebris and Plagueis and basically just a bunch of Sith lore I got into. But yeah. So I kind of have The Last Jedi to thank for that, at least, because I've, and this is kind of a bold statement. I think the Star Wars lores, I kind of enjoy it kind of even more than the films. The original trilogy is an exception. Like the original trilogy is great, but yeah, the lore I find that even more interesting than a lot of the films. So.
The Last Jedi did not confuse me; it just pissed me off. I mean, it had pure plot holes and, basically, what is happening? This does not make sense. It did not make me want to read stuff to expand. Just made me want to say, screw this, I'm out. Oops, sorry, I already broke the rule, Josh.
Screw this is fine, but I'm gonna have to bleep out one of the things.
Oh, you're gonna make it sound worse than when you do. And I'm not sure if you guys can control the chat or not. So I'm gonna, if you can't, then I'm just gonna try and monitor and see who's joining. We got one viewer and my pal Pro Skater. What is up, dude? What, my pal Zach? How you doing, dude?
I don't see Zach's message. I see Pro Skater.
Well, I know him in real life, so that's his. I know his real name.
Oh yeah, Pro Skater. I've seen him on some of your Spider-Man streams, isn't it, Ace?
Yeah, he's watched a couple of my streams.
So see, the thing with the sequel trilogy is I enjoyed The Force Awakens on initial watch, but then The Last Jedi came out, and I'm like, okay, what's going on here? I was like, I saw The Last Jedi, and I'm like, none of this makes any sense. First off, when did the concept of fuel? I've never seen them mention fuel in Star Wars. Like, they're almost out of fuel. It's like, when was that ever a thing? And then the hyperspace ramming thing, I was like, that's ridiculous.
The fuel thing in and of itself, it was the first time I remember fuel ever being mentioned in a Star Wars film was in Episode 3, but I assumed that meant for small fighters and small starships, fighter jets, and so on and so forth, not necessarily big starships. You would think a starship would have its own power source in there, like almost a nuclear reactor and whatnot.
Like little not ships, even that, just like massive fuel tanks, even like that they wouldn't run out that quickly. Only 3 jumps.
I don't. It's hard to say. And also, I do know because looks like we lost Illium. I do know that since I did watch through Rebels, which was kind of, I wouldn't say taxing, but was kind of a chore just because there's some ups and downs.
I
They do
enjoyed
make. I enjoyed it too, but it's not as easy to go through as with the Clone Wars. But I thought they did mention fuel a couple times, but they don't say in what the fuel's for. They say ships, but they don't say is it the small ships or is it the large cruisers and whatnot. And look at the chat real quick. Pro Skater, good. What is going on, everyone? What's the topic today? Go figure. It is what it is. It is
the topic is just whatever we decide because we did not plan ahead.
Yeah, we're
But
just kind of winging it.
next weekend we're gonna have, or not next weekend, the weekend after that, we're gonna have an actual proper planned topic.
Sorry for dropping out of stream for like a minute. I think I just pressed the button on my phone. I pressed the button on my phone. It just screwed everything up. Sorry about that.
That makes sense. Trust me, I've done that before. Actually, I've done the opposite of that before. One time I was like, I'm just chilling on my phone talking on Discord and I'll accidentally press the call button.
Yeah, like I would be using my laptop, but for some reason it's super slow, so I just thought I'd use my phone.
Makes sense.
It's just more convenient, just easy to set up and you get on with
So
stuff.
actually, talking of Rebels, I wonder what they're gonna do, like as a follow up to where Ezra is and what happened. Search for Ezra with Ahsoka and Sabine.
I believe there was some rumor about that was going to be part of the basis for the Ahsoka show that she'd be following up on trying to find out where's Ezra and where's Thrawn, and that's why in the Mandalorian she's like, where's Thrawn? 'Cause she's also trying to pursue the location of Ezra as well.
Yeah, and actually, speaking of that, I was actually, when I heard that name drop, I got really excited because I was like, Thrawn? That my eyes really opened wide. I was wide-eyed when I heard that.
I feel you there.
And then, yeah, I've known Star Wars since I was really young, actually, when my older brother first introduced me to Star Wars. And it was through, I think, he showed me like the first 20 minutes or so of The Phantom Menace before he changed the TV channel.
I'm trying to think. What was the first time I watched Star Wars? My oldest memory of it was watching The Empire Strikes Back at my family friend's house, because I distinctly remember Luke hanging upside down in the Wampus Cave and reaching for his lightsaber, and I was probably 3 or 4 years old at the time, so I don't know if I watched the full movie because, a little hyperactive kid with a short attention span. Who knows if he's going to watch the full thing? But I do remember seeing The Phantom Menace in theaters when it first came out, and I thought it was great. But when I really got into Star Wars in 2002, when a friend of mine loaned me his tape of Return of the Jedi, and I just fell in love with it.
Return of the Jedi, the originals or the prequels, those were... I absolutely love the prequels, and I love the originals equally. But the sequels were absolute garbage. First off, at first I enjoyed so my sister and I, my sister that I'm currently living with, and I, when The Force Awakens first came out, my sister, I think my younger sister and I think one of my cousins went to see The Force Awakens when it first came out, and I enjoyed it upon the initial watch. And then The Last Jedi came out. Eventually, I ended up watching it on Netflix. And I was super lost at it. And then the Praetorian Guard scene, I was like, okay, don't judge me. I watch a lot of Shadiversity, a YouTuber, and he goes in depth into like armor and stuff. First off, the armor they were wearing is not practical at all because the capes, they would be tripping over the capes constantly, and their fighting style. And can we just take a minute to talk about how Rey was? She started off fighting two hands with a staff, and she picks up a lightsaber, and suddenly she's immediately a master at it.
Yeah, it's not the same. It'd be a completely different beast. And I've seen Shadiversity, and I like his videos. He's had some good content, and I agree. Like the only time it makes sense is like people would say, "Oh, what about when Darth Maul's lightsaber was cut in half by Obi-Wan?" I think. Remember earlier in the movie when he's fighting Qui-Gon the first time on Tatooine?
Yeah, he only uses one of the blades.
One blade, so I'm sure he's been familiarized himself on the off chance that his lightsaber gets cut in half.
Yeah, and the thing there is Maul. He had several years of training being Sidious's assassin while Sidious was still Plagueis' apprentice. Prior to this, and it kind of boggled my mind when people brought up that as an argument because Maul, he had several years of training. Rey had not even a day of training with a sword at that.
Yeah, a lot of people have reasoned like, well, we don't know that Maul had years of training because they don't say that in the movie. Like, well, we hear Palpatine say, "My apprentice, Darth Maul." His apprentice means he's trained him, and Sidious even says, "You've been well trained, my young apprentice." So we know
and
that he's trained.
Not even just that. A literal quote from Maul in the movie. "At last we will reveal ourselves to the Jedi. At last we will have revenge." The fact that he uses the word "at last" means that he had been Sith for quite a long time. And even actually, we do have proof, not from the movies, but we do have proof from the comics, canon comics even, that Sidious took Maul when he was an infant from Mother Talzin on Dathomir.
Well, in fairness, if we're judging the movies based on movies, we have to stick by what is there. I'm kind of using Anomaly Inc.'s logic because it does, like if we have to resort to, the books or the comics, then we're using arguments that general audiences might not know necessarily. But if we're talking, amongst hardcore fans that have read this stuff, then that's a fair point. But I guess it depends on who you're reasoning with, hardcore fans or general audiences. And let me look at the chat real quick because we've lost a viewer, but I want to read his comment. Pro Skater once again said, "Yeah, good luck upgrading parts for a PC tower or laptop, say, with all the COVID and dumb pricing for PC-related anything. I'm looking to update my PC myself in the future without paying an arm and a leg. Good luck with that, Zack Attack."
I'm actually, speaking of PC stuff, I'm actually eventually, once I'm to the point where I can monetize my channel and stuff and have a decent amount of money from stuff, I'm going to actually build my own computer from scratch.
Nice.
Yeah. With regards to Maul, like when he says like at last we will have revenge, that like even though like general audiences obviously don't know anything, if you look deeply into that line, maybe, and considering the Jedi don't know like about the Sith, right, at this point,
the Jedi thought that the Sith were extinct for thousands of years.
Yeah, and you could that kind of implies that maybe Maul had some sort of altercation with them when he was a child, when they were recruiting, and maybe they didn't recruit him. I'm just speculating. I don't know anything about Maul's backstory at all, but I'm just saying, like, I think like the whole revenge thing, because I don't really understand why Palpatine would want to get revenge. I mean, the Jedi's ignorance kind of is the reason he's a super powerful politician. So I don't really see what kind of. You know.
Thing is, Palpatine wants revenge not for himself, but for the Sith Order as a whole,
Oh,
because
okay, that makes a lot of
the
sense.
the
Yeah.
Jedi were the reason that the Sith went extinct. So, or extinct with
Partially the
heavy
reason.
air quotes.
Yeah, the other reason was
Well, the other
obviously
reason
because
was
of Darth Bane.
infighting.
Well, because Darth Bane, he knew, like, based on exploring like the text in the Sith library and also from Revan's holocron, that the Sith of his time had become pretty much a dark, twisted caricature of the Jedi, because there's so many of them, and there was a lot of infighting, obviously. But he saw like how the Sith of old were much more powerful than the Sith of present, and the Sith of present, trying to disregard, like, oh, that's old teaching, forget about that. So basically, Bane says you have to, in order for the Sith to prevail, burn them to the ground, rebuild them from the ashes, like the Phoenix, in a sense.
And when it comes to Darth Bane, there is the whole the Sith rule of two,
Yeah.
which he made that because of the infighting that was happening. And the Sith of old mention is even during Darth Mar's time, the time of Star Wars: The Old Republic, the game. During that time, the Sith numbered in the thousands, and they were infighting. There was a lot of infighting, and then when
Yeah.
he created the rule of two to hopefully cease that infighting, but it ultimately backfired. It made it so apprentice would want to overtake master.
Well, it was
Yeah,
also.
because
Go ahead, Illium.
there needs to be some level of infighting in the sense that, like Josh said, apprentice needs to overtake the master because the Sith covet power more than anything else. But there has to be some sort of level of progression, like the apprentice has to surpass the master in terms of power, and because there's so many Sith, like the thousands and the hundreds, that would never be the case. So
Yeah.
Bane's reasoning is quite logical there.
Yeah,
Yep.
it does make sense because the whole thing is, like, it is to prevent infighting amongst the Sith, but that's also to achieve the Sith's grand plan, which is to destroy the Jedi, and they can't destroy them if they keep killing each other. The only way they can successfully do is if the more powerful of the two Siths prevails, and then moves forward, trains an apprentice, and at the same time learns more knowledge for themselves to teach their apprentice, and then gradually becomes strong enough to destroy the Jedi. And in the like I was going to say, Bane not only created the rule of two just because there's a lot of Sith infighting, but he also got the idea from Darth Revan's holocron, which did touch upon the subject of, like, basically the apprentice should overtake the master, so on and so forth. He didn't say rule of two exactly, but basically it was the basis, and it was mentioned in the Knights of the Old Republic game, I believe, and I think on the Korriban map.
And actually, speaking of Revan, or a lot of us who are fans of the extended universe and stuff, we all know that during Revan's time, there were only two true Sith Lords, Self and his apprentice Malik, and then they had their assassins, such as Darth Bandon and them.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Vitiate, correct me if I'm wrong. Vitiate's the one who corrupted Malik and Revan to the dark side, right? When they went to go.
yes, you are correct.
Yeah, that was covered in the Revan book, also later covered in the Old Republic game. And I gotta say, I read the Revan book. I think Drew Karpyshyn, like, he's the same guy who created, didn't create Darth Bane, but basically wrote the Darth Bane trilogy. I think he cut himself short with what he could do with Revan's character in that book, because he basically had only. My theory is, because I've tried tweeting him and he didn't really answer my question about, well, how come the Revan novel wasn't a Revan trilogy? That would have been so great, so on and so forth. And he didn't really give me a clear answer, and this was such a long time ago. And I think the reasoning is because the game developers only gave him so much time, because, we want to include Revan as a DLC, but we need a backstory, and we need it really quick. So he basically gave him one, and they said, okay, make this tie-in and so on and so forth, and he was only able to do one book instead of three. Because I think if the Revan novel covered
My
more along
thing,
the lines of like what was his relationship with the Exile, what was his relationship with
Bastila.
his training with Kreia when she was still known as Aaron Kai before she became Darth Trey, and then finally Kreia, and also I think he really screwed up Revan's character by saying, "Oh, Vitiate brainwashed him." I think if there was a threat of, "Oh, Vitiate tries brainwashing Revan, and Revan understands that, oh, this guy is an enormous threat, but I'll pretend to be brainwashed, but I'm going to resist him." That way, it adds both weight to Vitiate and still has weight to Revan that he's still a strong character with his own.
Yeah.
What I'm looking for.
Yeah, and the thing with that is, after the events of Knights of the Old Republic, you find
Agency.
out during a Flashpoint mission in Star Wars that for 300 years, Revan was held by Vitiate in a prison, and Revan was not only resisting Vitiate's power, but holding Vitiate back in a way, keeping Vitiate from getting too powerful. But when the player comes along and breaks Revan out, Vitiate then is able to reach his full potential.
Yeah, I've seen the videos, but I've never played the Old Republic myself. So I am familiar enough.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, my lore knowledge, by the way, I've never read any of the books. It's pretty much all from videos. But I do obviously want to read like Darth Bane's novels and all that. Like Bane is somebody that I think I'd be interested in because there's his rule of two made him like one of the greatest Sith Lords of all time. Like that scene with Yoda, I think in Clone Wars, like even Yoda knew who he was. Yeah, which is quite surprising. Because I thought the Jedi were like super against like learning dark side knowledge because they didn't want to be corrupted by it. But considering Yoda's the Grand Master, I guess you would have to know to be prepared.
And actually, fun fact: the Temple Library with the holocrons in it, the one that Cad Bane broke into in that one episode of the Clone Wars, I think at the start of season 2. Correct me if I'm wrong. But there are actually holocrons in that very room that teach about ancient beings, ancient dark beings even, such as Bane. And actually, another fun fact, a lot of people don't know, I think Ace might, the Jedi Temple on Coruscant is built over an ancient Sith shrine.
Mm-hmm.
Oh wow!
Yeah, but onto the topics.
That's pretty ironic.
But onto the topics of the books, I actually have the Thrawn. I haven't opened them. I haven't cracked them open and started reading yet, but I have the Thrawn trilogy of novels.
I'm overdue for a reread through the books because I haven't had much chance to read through any books that I have. Period. The last one I read was the third or fourth book in the X-Wing series, and this takes place before the Thrawn trilogy. And I think it was either the X-Wing books or the last of the Callista trilogy, which was not that good, other than Darksaber. But yeah, I need to pick up the X-Wing books and then finish getting up. I want to read them to the point where it gets into the Thrawn trilogy, and then go through that again, and then get on over to where I need to go, which I think is the Crystal Stars, the next one I need to read through.
Yeah, and you mentioned the Revan book. Actually, I haven't read the Revan book myself, but I've heard a lot about it. And from what I've heard about the way that it was written is that if it was written as a trilogy, it probably would have not only oversaturated Revan content, but in a lot of the fans' eyes, totally ruined Revan's character.
Well, I don't think that, because I think the problem is like some of Revan's agency is robbed. Because I already mentioned that with how like in KOTOR 2 they set this whole thing of basically Revan didn't really fall to the dark side. He took some moral shortcuts in order to win the battles against the Mandalorians during the war. But in the end, they just basically of the Revan novel, they explain that, oh yeah, he was brainwashed by Vitiate, and I think that kind of robbed him of agency. But the book, it isn't just Revan the whole time. It also breaks up between the Sith Lord named Scourge, who is like, the actual Sith species, and then like towards the second half of the book, where Revan disappears for a while, it does bring in Mitra Sutric the Exile. So I think if they had broken it up across 3 books, like that way they could include Scourge, like give a little bit more time to Revan, especially give more time between his relationship with Kreia and Mitra Sutric the Exile, and characterize Mitra Sutric more, and also have some more across the board explanations for for people who are wondering like where is Zalbar and Mission and Juhani, and I think Juhani probably just went back to the Jedi Temple, but explore more of the rest of the Ebon Hawk crew, basically.
Yeah, Bastila especially, because we know that he ended up marrying Bastila and having children, which eventually led to 300 years later.
Child.
Bastila. Yeah.
Satil and Bastila, are they related?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Satil's a descendant.
Satil is a descendant of them.
Yeah.
Otherwise they wouldn't have this last but anyways, back to the topic of the sequel trilogy. The Last Jedi, where were we?
It was asinine.
So yeah, and then the Praetorian Guard stuff, the armor, I hated it. The combat style, I hated it. The disappearing blades, so Rey didn't get stabbed.
You know what I thought when I saw the Praetorian Guards, like their outfit design, like the way they kind of, at least it could be me overthinking it. They reminded me of those guards, the Wicked Witch guards from the Wizard of Oz. I can't remember what they're called. They're the ones that go.
That's where that comes from.
What? You've never seen the Wizard of Oz?
No, I've heard of it, but I've never seen the Wizard of Oz before.
Man, that is a classic movie. You need to watch that.
I've never seen it either.
Well, like that, you can see parallels between Star Wars and the Wizard of Oz because George used a lot of classic movies to partially influence Star Wars. Obviously, Akira Kurosawa and westerns and so forth.
Actually, a fun fact: the Empire stormtroopers were actually based on Adolf Hitler's Third Reich.
They were based on name-wise. Name-wise, they were based off of his actual stormtroopers, which were his elite troops.
Yeah.
But then
I think in high school we learned about Hitler's rise to power, and I think he called them the SFs, the stormtroopers. They were known as the SS. I
believe that is true.
They're actually called stormtrooping or something like that.
Stormtrooping.
I was literally just about to say SS might. In terms of like German translation, it might be something different. So yeah, that makes a lot more sense. Why would Adolf Hitler? Okay, he was born in Austria, but someone who's like wants to spread German pride, why would he want to use English? That makes a lot of sense, because that makes a lot more sense.
But
isn't the whole Galactic Empire in the original trilogy, isn't the whole Galactic Empire based on the Nazis?
Their costumes are very much
there are parallels.
Everyone calls Vader and Palpatine like space Nazis, right? So.
Well, Vader originally was designed after samurai armor, but then the concept art was given over to the sculptors who fabricated everything, and he kind of incorporated some things like the shape of the Nazi helmets. That's why you got the shape of Vader's helmets. An amalgamation of Nazi uniform and samurai armor.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
okay, that makes sense.
And when it comes to space Nazis, the First Order is the literal definition of space Nazis. Like you see, they literally the what was the Hitler salute for. Their salute.
Yeah, pretty much.
Uh-huh. I don't think
They made it a little too.
say these names on YouTube.
What? Say what?
Like, can we say Nazi and stuff on YouTube?
Oh, only if you're calling the right the Nazis. For the record, this channel, my channel is politically neutral. I take no sides, and I don't have a large enough audience or views. So you know what? If YouTube, it's not like I'm monetizing my videos for YouTube to demonetize them through their algorithm. Say whatever you want. You can say Nazis. You can say whatever. You can make fun of feminists. You can make fun of right wingers, left wingers. I don't really care.
I mean,
the Hitler salute. I'm just saying freedom of speech.
I mean, the Hitler salute. I don't really understand, man. Everyone who hates that salute just basically hates geometry, because right angles are squares, right? And the Hitler salute is just 45-degree angle. So, like, why does everyone hate geometry? Like, it's education, people. Come on. We have to teach the kids of today what a 45-degree angle is.
Oh God, that's.
Oh yeah, fun fact by the way.
That's funny.
A fun fact by the way. I've been anticipating this live stream for a week, and I was really bored this evening because I was just itching to get on the live stream because I had nothing else to do today, and so I decided to watch Demolition Man with my dad, and I only watched the first half, and I just couldn't be bothered to watch the rest. Yeah, I couldn't. It's a great film. I only watched the first half because I just couldn't be bothered to watch the rest. I'll watch it another time. But I got to the bit where Stallone mentioned Luke Skywalker used the Force, and I was like, wow, I have a live stream in an hour, and what are the odds of like that line popping up?
My question actually is, what are your opinions on the Galactic Civil War from the original trilogy? My opinion is that the Empire, they were just there keeping order, and the rebels showed up and were basically terrorists. What's your opinions?
You want to go first, Illium?
Sure. Okay, this is gonna come as a huge shock. I've been a Star Wars fan, not this bit. I'm in the second half because everyone's been a Star Wars fan since they were in the womb. So it's not a competition. I've been a Star Wars fan for a long time. I grew up with the prequels, Phantom Menace on the original PlayStation. That game got terrible reviews, but that was one of my favorite games on the original PlayStation. I absolutely loved that game. There's Qui-Gon and like Mos Eisley and Obi-Wan fighting more. Yeah.
I played that game too.
The captain, that was probably one of the coolest levels with the gun. Like I found it interesting. Yeah, Capsule Panaka, and basically what I'm trying to say is, long story short, I did watch the original trilogy growing up a bit, but not really, and I only really watched it back in September, and I'm 22. For context, so like I spent like 18 years not really knowing much about the original trilogy, and I fell in love with it, and I still love the prequels, but I have to say I think the prequels don't hold a candle to the original trilogy because the philosophical dialogue and everything. I'm just a sucker for that kind of stuff.
It's apples and oranges, I'd say.
Yeah, I mean, I like the prequels for what they did with the whole like world building. World building. The effects were really cool. Like Vader burning on Mustafar. That's the CGI was insane.
Insane.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Revenge of the Sith was the most expensive film of all time at the time it came out.
I'm pretty sure
of all the movies in general, or just the Star Wars movies.
Of all time, when it came out in 2005, not now. Of all movies.
Of expensive to make, I don't think it was actually.
But when it comes to CG, the only thing, in my opinion, that took a bit away from Star Wars, because back in the day when the original trilogy was being produced, and there's podcasts and people literally talk about this all the time, they made every single prop by hand. But then CG came along, and they made basically none of the ships were actually real props.
Well, actually, that's kind of a misconception, because if you actually watch some of the DVDs, or even like the featurettes are on YouTube now, there's actually a lot more practical effects in the prequel trilogy than most people think. You can actually see in some of the behind the scenes, they actually had some of those like actual sculptures of miniatures of, you know, the Naboo starfighters, those yellow ones, even the Queen's starship, like that shot where it's landing on Tatooine surface. That was actually an actual ship they built, and they had shot that on the roof of Industrial Light and Magic.
Mm-hmm.
Oh wow!
So,
Anyways,
yeah,
Ace, what's your opinion on the original trilogy? The
in terms of
GCW.
Galactic Civil War versus the Rebels, well, if we're talking like just in general, I'm gonna say like in context of real life motivation behind it. George Lucas based the Rebel Alliance off of the Viet Cong, and basically the Empire was kind of the system, the man, the American Empire, as he described in an interview with James Cameron, which is a very great video. I might pull that up for later on in the stream if you guys are interested. And like the Empire, it could, you know, it's kind of like probably has a lot of loyalists and patriots to that system, but there's a lot of people who probably live outside of the good areas of the Empire where they don't really get a lot of support, and they say we don't want to be a part of the Empire, but the Empire is trying to silence them into submission, beat them into submission, and they're saying we're not going to take this. You know what? Don't want to be a part of the Empire, and we've seen how you guys are screwed up since you've risen. We want to take you down.
Speaking of ties to the real world, actually, the Clone Wars, I don't know if this is actually, but I heard it in a video. It was kind of loosely resemblant of the Vietnam War.
The Clone Wars?
I think I've heard something about that somewhere.
I'm not sure if I've ever heard about that. I've ever go ahead, Illium.
I haven't seen the whole of Clone Wars. I've seen like the quote unquote big episodes, like the Umbara arc, you know, the Mortis stuff, and
Ryloth.
good chunk of. Oh, I guess I haven't seen all the major arcs then. Yeah, like the Clone Wars, I did get the vibe from it. That's one thing I really liked about it. It was the only piece of Star Wars content. Unfortunately, I don't really feel like the films gave this vibe to me. Mm-hmm. It actually felt like a war. Probably because, like, you know, we saw them going on separate missions and then coming back to base. I can't really blame the films for that. I can't really blame. And the intro, the propaganda thing, like breaking news, you know, like Republic is in disarray and all that, you know, like that. It sounds like an old timey propaganda World War kind of thing. And I'm sure a lot of people have spoken about that as well.
Well, the thing, I have heard that criticism, but one thing a lot of people forget is the main story isn't the war itself. The war is just the backdrop. The main story is the conflict of, for the prequels, it is Anakin Skywalker falling to the dark side. And the original trilogy, the Galactic Civil War, is the backdrop of his story of, you know, the hero's journey.
And in the sequel trilogy, so it's about Rey being an identity thief.
No.
Identity theft is a real crime, Jim.
No.
Whatever it was. I've seen clips of The Office. I don't watch The Office. I got nothing against it. It's just not my cup of tea. I know everyone says, "Oh, watch past the first season."
Before I say my point, I have to say, the U.S. Office is my favorite TV show of all time. I actually watched the pilot episode of the UK Office, and I'm from the UK, so it's quite ironic that I just didn't like the UK Office. I wanted to like it. I just really didn't like it.
I've actually heard about a lot of people from the UK that, like, when there's like, I have quite a few friends from the UK, one of which I've known for 3 years now. And I've actually heard, like, the shows that have UK adaptations of American shows. I've heard him talk about how he prefers the original American version to the UK version several times.
I think it depends on what show, because sometimes, Americans port UK shows and they could be worse. Like, they tried porting a version of The Young Ones and it sucked. And then, they tried porting The Office and Wilfred, and apparently they were well received. And I saw only the pilot of the British Wilfred, and I just couldn't get into it. The American one was a little bit more quirky, so I enjoyed that more. And then obviously the UK, but I'm trying to think of a version of where Americans butchered the UK version, like when they tried doing Faulty Towers. American one sucked. BBC version, excellent, because you got John Cleese.
When I was the UK version, the UK version of high school is a bit weird. So we kind of finish when we're 16, and well, the US version, you guys finish when you're 18. We finish when we're 18 too, but the last 2 years of what you would call junior, senior year, we don't really call that high school. We call that college. So it's very confusing, I know. So
Yeah,
what you guys
actually
call college, we call university, and yeah, it's pretty.
Yeah, like I mentioned, my UK friend of 3 years, actually, he and I have talked about the school system before and how different it is.
Oh yeah, sorry. You're probably wondering what my point was. My point was, in the summer of when I finished high school, I watched The In-Betweeners, which was originally a UK show, and The In-Betweeners is the UK version is so great. Like, I remember it being quite short. It was like 2 seasons only. But I know there's a US version, or I think there's a US version. I haven't gotten around to it, but the UK version I really like. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the UK version was big in your lots in the US as well. I don't know. There was a movie.
Yeah, there's a lot of shows where
the group of boys in the show, they go to the US for summer holiday.
Yeah. There's actually a lot of shows where Americans prefer the UK version and British people prefer the US version.
Sorry about that. I'm back. I thought I heard something and wanted to get a drink.
The Office, without a doubt, the greatest quote in, like, The Office has a bunch of great quotes.
That's what she said.
But no.
Is it that one?
No, that's when I saw it. That quote died because I use it too much in high school. That's when I learned about it. So, Dwight, smoking a cigarette, throwing it into a bin. Today, smoking is going to save lives.
Okay.
Josh knows what I'm talking about. Ace, you have to watch the episode, obviously, because you're probably.
I don't really know. Context. I've not seen it. I just think it's funny.
So Dwight smokes and he throws it into a bin and he starts a fire on purpose because he wants to show everyone how easy it is to start a fire and he wants them to be responsible. So he puts their lives in danger. And I think that's the episode where Stanley, who's one of the workers, he has a heart attack because of it. So, or something like that.
Fun.
Yeah.
Back to the sequel trilogy. So I've mentioned I liked The Force Awakens initially. Then came The Last Jedi, confused the crap out of me. And then where it really finally fell apart, The Rise of Skywalker. There were no Skywalkers left by the end of that movie. They cannot. They have no right to call it The Rise of Skywalker. Rey has no right to call herself a Skywalker.
The working title was The Rise of Palpatine.
And that's the thing. Using Palpatine as the main villain again, I did not like that. I was one of probably very many who absolutely hated the idea of Palpatine's return. And actually, I watched The Rise of Skywalker on release. Probably.
Is it?
I think around Christmas time as a gift from my mom.
Is it 100% confirmed that he was a clone? I just want to ask.
It's not confirmed whether he was a clone or it was his original body. But
no, not in the film, but like tweets. I think tweets confirmed.
They confirmed it in the new canon, I believe, in one of the books or something like that.
But judging by the way his body was kind of deformed and stuff, I would guess because the way cloning Force users works in canon, not in Legends, because Starkiller obviously, but in canon, the cloning Force users wouldn't really work very well.
Well, like something I want to say in terms, like when you were on the subject of Force Awakens, but I'll admit, when I first saw The Force Awakens, I did love it, but I think I was just caught up in the hype. I wanted new Star Wars content that I would love, And I did see it 6 times in theaters. Once I saw it back to back in the same day. And then as I watched it more and more, I kind of thought, I thought maybe I'm just fatiguing myself, overexposing it. I'll not see it anymore. I'll wait till it comes out on Blu-ray, and I'll probably like it again. And then I bought it on Blu-ray, and I thought, okay, it's not as good as I thought. What is the deal? And then I realized, okay, it's not as good. Rogue One, I loved. I did have some nitpicks with it after a few viewings, and I was more able to acknowledge that. But I still do enjoy that. Although after seeing The Mandalorian, I wonder if Rogue One could have been better if it was a series. Like the first season is basically them trying to get the Death Star plans, and the second season, like you would lose some crew members of Rogue One, and then second season is them doing some infantry missions for the Rebel Alliance and this and that and the other. But when I saw The Last Jedi, one viewing, I left the theater pissed. This was the look on my face after seeing the movie.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Ace, I saw your review on it, by the way, like a few months ago.
Yeah, and when I first watched The Last Jedi,
I screamed in the parking lot,
when I-
"Don't do that to Luke Skywalker!"
we were talking about the Praetorian Guards. When I first saw them, I was like, that is a total ripoff of Palpatine's Royal Guard.
Well,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah,
the sequel trilogy has no original ideas.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I remember those Royal Guards in the Force Unleashed game very well. Like they had red colors and they had blue colors, and then the Shadow Guards had the black colors with the red visor.
And they were in Return of the Jedi.
I'm just gonna say the mention of the Shadow Guard. I absolutely love the Shadow Guards. The black, the red visor, the lightsaber pike, everything about that is just perfection.
I do like them, but in the game, like I think it was the Nar Shaddaa level, the 5th level in the game where you have to rescue Kota, and it was they weren't a boss, they were like a sub boss, but they were the end of level boss, and I don't really consider them a boss because they were pretty easy to kill. That was quite disappointing.
Actually, it was Bespin in the PS3 game, because the PS2 game is actually a bit of a different beast. It's kind of, you get a couple more missions because, like,
no, it was Cloud City. That's it. Yeah, it was Bespin.
Yeah,
Bespin.
I originally played the PS2 version way back in the day, and it kind of plays for the most part the same, except different is you do, like, when you're still, Vader's apprentice before he kills you, that you go to the Jedi Temple on Coruscant to fight a Jedi, and it turns out it's Starkiller's dad. It's kind of like, what, when you play the PS3 version, and then you go back to find Kota on Nar Shaddaa. You can't find him. Well, you do find him, but then you still have to go to Bespin because there's there you have to rescue Garm Iblis, a senator who becomes Garm Iblis. He is a in the expanding universe, he was an important figure in the Rebel Alliance, and basically he's kind of deleted from the PS3 version, but except in a cutscene when Bail Organa says, Garm will provide the troops, Mon Mothma will provide the ships, I'll finance the rebellion, so on and so forth. Basically, there's a whole mission of where you rescue him from some bounty hunters and assassins on Cloud City. And one of the bounty hunters is a one-eyed Gungan.
A one-eyed Gungan.
And with those late 2000s PS2 graphics, it's enjoyably cheesy.
For context, I grew up with the PS3 version, so yeah, I don't remember that guy, but I remember that line that Bale said.
Well, yeah. I played PS3 version more than PS2.
The PS3 version, I never had the DLC, so I never played the Jedi Temple, but I know about that level, and I know about the level where you fight Luke on Hoth, and that carries on after the Dark Side ending, where you're Darth Starkiller and all that.
Yeah, that little DLC.
That was pretty cool.
Yeah, I thought that little DLC, cool. Like when, basically after you beat Luke and he's kind of turned to the, his eyes turn yellow and he's like, rise, my apprentice, Starkiller. I think to myself, that just kind of just shows how presumptuous the Sith are.
Yeah, and speaking of that little thing, actually, when I watched that on YouTube, actually, I saw that. I thought, okay, that's pretty cool, but why? First off, why would someone as powerful as now Darth Starkiller need an apprentice like Luke? Second, like, and then there's a level on Tatooine as well where you fight Ben again. How do you fight Ben's ghost? It doesn't make sense.
It's because
logic.
It's because okay, Ben's ghost. I have nothing to say about that. That was cool, but I don't have anything like logical to say about that when it comes to lore. When it comes to recruit
the lore, that's why there was that Force Unleashed book.
When it comes to recruiting Luke, that makes a lot of sense to me because in the dark side ending, Palpatine throws your ship at you, so you lose a lot of your body mass, and you basically become a shadow of your former self. And Palpatine literally says in that Palpatine literally says in that ending, "You could have been my equal, but you're just a puppet to use until I find a better apprentice."
Yeah, it's kind of like. Yeah, it's kind of the same reasoning like why Vader wanted Luke to join up with him to take down Palpatine, because he wasn't as powerful as he was before he was critically wounded and so on and so forth. And we have a viewer. Hello, viewer. Please comment.
Starkiller was equally, if not more, powerful than he was before his injury, because he was still able to use abilities like Force Lightning and things like that, and the Force Repulse, is it?
Yeah, it's Force Repulse, yeah.
Well, with Force Lightning, all you need is you need to have organic hands. You can't have mechanical hands. We just don't know how much of him has been removed or has been injured.
Well,
so he might still have certain force abilities, but he might not have his full strength.
If you look at his arms, they look robotic. And even his hands, if you look,
I think both of his arms, his forearms. No, sorry, okay, my biology is running out. The bicep part of his arms, the skin looks kind of green, and on both arms. I'm pretty sure I've read in the game's biography, the bio of the costume, because you can play as different costumes, and it says that one of his arms is mechanical, even though it looks organic. So I think you're right. I think one of his arms is completely mechanical. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, or
I think we don't have any viewers anymore, but I think I always thought it was because he had just little attachments to his gloved hand that made it look like he had claws or something. Because
they didn't look like claws.
Video game logic kind of plays with the lore because in the Episode 3 game on PS2 and Xbox, Anakin, when he's become Darth Vader, with his mechanical hand is able to shoot Force Lightning, which he should not be able to do. So there's a little bit of stretch of logic within the video game canon.
Never even learned Force Lightning in canon or Legend. So
that was a disturbing level for me, because I got that game for my 7th birthday, and to see a Jedi it was kind of like horror music in the background.
Pretty much.
I'll show you guys one day.
Are you talking about the alternate ending of the
No, I'm talking about the Jedi Temple level where you kill the librarian. Ace knows what I'm talking about. The first level where
He's talking the Episode 3 game.
The Episode 3 game. And you literally pick her up and just put her through your lightsaber. And seeing Anakin using Force Lightning on Padawans with horror music in the background, doing that cringy laugh, like some really edgy teenage Lord laugh.
His laugh was, I remember that game was delightfully cheesy with some of the voice dialogue from just Anakin's actor, because it's the same voice actor from the 2003 Clone Wars animated show, who was done by Genndy Tartakovsky, a different voice actor from the 2008 Clone Wars Anakin.
I remember seeing the videos of the Revenge of the Sith game, and there was a scene on Mustafar where it was an alternate ending where
that's
Anakin
the final mission
jumps
of the
up
game.
and murders Obi-Wan brutally, and then kills Palpatine.
That's not that big. He just impales him. I mean, Obi-Wan cut off his arms and his legs, and Anakin just impales him.
And then throws him into a pit of lava.
Well, he doesn't throw him. He just lets him slide onto the edge and get burnt.
Yeah, he kicks him, and I don't even think Obi-Wan's that close to the lava. And one thing I loved, right? the penultimate level of that game is called A Friendship in Flames, and you play as Obi-Wan, and that's basically the canon ending of the movie. And then the final level is called Revenge of the Sith, and it's that duel again, but you play as Vader. And in the game, he's called Vader at this point. And one thing I really like, if you guys want, like after stream, watch that ending again. That ending is perfect. Like I really want George to re-record like an alternate ending, and I would pay £20, which is like $30 just for a clip of that, because it's perfect. He jumps over, he reverse impales him, like he impales his back without his spine, without even looking. He kicks him down, and then the whatever you call it, the Empire theme that was introduced in Empire Strikes Back. I can't remember the name because I'm just too
Imperial
excited
March.
right now. The Imperial March. There is a motif that I've never heard before. Like, I mean, not a motif, but there's like a set of notes I've never heard before. It's like a victorious version, like Vader's one, because it actually goes da da da.
Let me see if I can. Let me see if I can actually go ahead and find that little.
I know what he's talking about. It's like dun, 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 dun,
yeah. Perfect. Yeah, and I love that.
Thanks. And I know what you're talking about. And actually, I kind of wonder because everyone said, well, not everyone, but since they're making the Obi-Wan show and it's been confirmed Hayden Christensen is coming back, I wonder Illium, if you're going to get your wish, if they're going to have like some sort of Force vision of Obi-Wan, like if Anakin had won the duel, and like they basically create that scene, like where Anakin wins, and then
should we go ahead and show the scene we're talking about?
Let me quickly look it up.
I have
Josh,
it open. Oops, that ain't it.
Wait, Josh. Josh, I will say before you start the video, Ace did a stream, or maybe Brevin did, because there were so many streams going on just before the end of 2020. Like Ace remembers, there was like a 2-week period where there's like 10 streams going on, like every single day back to back. And I think it was Ace, Revan, and maybe some other person.
General
and they were watching
Darth Shadow.
Yeah, maybe General Katar and Darth Shadow. They're watching how it should have ended for The Last Jedi, and the stream cut out for a bit because of copyright. So I'm just warning you, like, I don't really.
No, I'm gonna mute. But can you see my screen?
I'll add it to the stream.
No. Oh, cool. Now we can see it.
We can see it now. Yeah, I have the control of what screens are seen. Bow before me.
I love Palpatine, and he's the only. I haven't seen Rise of Skywalker, but I'm looking forward to seeing him again.
I can't hear any audio on your end.
You can't. Hold on.
No. Oh, you can. I heard a bit as well. It's just a bit muffled.
You got to turn up the volume. I think the bar was at like the halfway point.
Okay, I'm just gonna do that.
All right, start from the
beginning. Can you hear it?
A little bit. A tiny bit, not too much.
Maybe it's just me.
Here we go.
He's like, now who has the high ground, ho?
That smirk. I love that smirk. I love that smirk so much. It's perfect with the Imperial March in the background.
Yeah.
Oh, Ambassadorial Wing said in the comments, hey guys, be in shortly.
Oh, all right.
This was a great game,
by the way. Are
those
212 troopers?
This was such an underrated game. The dueling, the 1v1 dueling was amazing.
I agree.
Good thing there's subtitles on.
Yeah, there are.
I always thought it was funny how he does that little like
the galaxy belongs to me, edgy teen voice.
Yeah. I always thought it was funny like how he basically throws it in the air and then he does a little unnecessarily turning around. I always thought that just struck me.
It's a video game, isn't it? Yeah, well, it is.
No,
it's just because when I was 7, like Ace, you know, you're saying all this cheesy stuff. I was 7, right? So the Jedi Temple with with Anakin laughing, it genuinely terrified me, like as a kid. But obviously, looking back, it's super cheesy. Like Anakin, in
I was 13
retrospect,
at the time, so
Hold on, the
yeah. So
Jedi Temple. I need to see this.
I'm the oldest of all.
my,
I'm now. I turned 29 over a week ago, so now I'm of the age where I could say I'm pushing 30, and I reach for my drink of sake and drink more.
Ace, my older brother is your age, and we used to 1v1 duel all the time in Revenge of the Sith, and I was Obi-Wan, and he was Anakin, and he'd always lose, because he'd always use Force Lightning, and I'd block it, I'd wait for his Force bar to drain, and I'd just destroy him. And he used to get so annoyed that 7-year-old used to kick his butt, and he was 13.
I used to actually play Lego Star Wars with my little sister all the time.
The Lego Star Wars original trilogy, I had that on the PSP.
Not the
Even though I
original
didn't really know much about the films.
saga version, the complete saga on the Wii.
I'd like to play the third one, the Clone Wars one. I still have to play that one. I am not playing any of the Skywalker saga crap.
I think I might have had the complete saga because I remember fighting Darth Maul as Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan. And then seeing Qui-Gon's death scene was so hilarious in the Lego version. It was just
I know.
His legs popped open partly.
And no, it was his face.
Why did I say complete saga? I meant say Skywalker saga or whatever. None of that sequel trilogy crap.
I think it was Qui-Gon's face. Like he looked like he was in so much pain, but he's dead. He looks like he was pooping the biggest poop of all time. Like, and it hurt so much. I don't really understand.
What I always thought was funny from the prequel portion of the Lego Star Wars was that, the ending of the Revenge of the Sith one where Padme gives birth and, Luke and Leia happen. You hear pop, pop, and you see two little babies, blue and pink. And Padme's just like, oh.
I need to watch that. I don't think I ever played that. I don't think I ever played Revenge of the Sith. That's probably why, because I never played Revenge of the Sith.
I might have to cut this bit out in my video because I'm actually making a series on the complete saga, and my episode 3 kind of screwed up. Yeah, I don't want spoilers.
Fair point.
Yeah, so I'm gonna have to cut this out of my video.
Out of curiosity, Josh, what do you use for editing?
It depends. I have let's see. I have video pad on my computer, and I have a video editor on my phone as well.
Okay, I have an old one. I have Coral Video Studio. I haven't used it on my laptop in ages. I haven't done an edited video in ages. I need to do it again because I got some ideas for some rants.
Though I actually prefer the method of using my phone to edit because it's actually a lot easier to move the bars around and stuff for me on mobile because I'm more used to using my phone. Because I was without a computer for a year or so.
Wow!
And I just wanted to quickly shift gears. I was saying earlier how I hated The Last Jedi after one viewing. I never saw it afterward. I only saw it that one time, and I'll never see it again. I didn't bother with Solo. I did watch the
Solo was
the cut scene on YouTube of Maul and whatnot, and I did not even bother with Rise of Skywalker. I said it's not worth it. Screw it. I don't even care for completionist reasons. And you thought that everyone did think that bringing Palpatine back as a clone was stupid, and you know what? They plagiarized that from the Dark Empire comic from the 90s, and that got flack back then, not just because it flies in the face of the Chosen One prophecy, because that wasn't a thing yet when that comic was written. It was more of that sort of weakens Anakin's sacrifice at the end of Return of the Jedi. So it was still a controversial move in the comics back then, and they decided, let's use it to bring back Palpatine in the movie.
It totally circumvents Anakin's sacrifice, redemption, and Luke's, full rise to, finally being, I don't want to say a Jedi Master, basically. But then, and The Last Jedi totally pissed on them. That's the only word I can use.
Return of the Jedi is the Spider-Man 3 of the original trilogy, actually, because because Luke is like fighting with the dark side. He's
I'm
wearing
gonna
black
find you and
robes, and
slap you for that.
he force chokes the pig gods at Jabba's palace at the beginning of the film.
Gamorreans.
Yeah, the Gamorreans.
Well,
And,
I'm not mad because he compares it to Spider-Man 3. It's just because I know people are going to associate that with a negative connotation. And I think, okay, dude, some people are going to take that the wrong way. I mean, personally, as flawed as it is, I like Spider-Man 3 for what it is, not as much as Spider-Man 2 or 1. But I think Return of the Jedi is obviously my favorite Star Wars movie.
Especially, that's going to get a reaction from a lot of my community, because a lot of my community absolutely hates
But I get what Illium was
saying.
He was saying
love Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, he was just trying to say that Luke was fighting with the dark side, like how Peter was fighting with his inner demons with like the symbiote and whatnot. I get what he means. It's just,
I get it too.
It needs some context.
No. I actually want to elaborate to Josh's audience.
Okay.
So, guys, I'm a big Spider-Man fan as well. Like I've been watching, just like Star Wars has been a part of my life since I was like 3 or 4, playing on the original PlayStation, and like since the beginning. The prequels, I should say, the original trilogy was never really a big part of my life until last year, September. And Spider-Man's been a big part of my life since I was a little kid as well. And he was my favorite superhero growing up. But then I was 15, and Batman is now my favorite superhero. But Spider-Man, I still love a lot, like a ton. And so I rewatched the original, the 2002 Spider-Man film after my May finals last year, and I loved it. And I watched the second one when I was about to start my second year of my degree, September, October time. And I watched the third one a week after, because I want to see how I liked it as an adult now that I'm 22. Obviously, I like the first one. The second one's amazing because, like, I've never read a Spider-Man comic in my life, but that's where everyone considers quintessential Spider-Man. Like this guy who has all this power, but he's a college kid who has no money, and you can relate to that and all these things.
Great power comes with great responsibility, Uncle Ben.
Everyone associates that line with Uncle Ben, even in the comics. That comes from the movie. In the original first appearance of Spider-Man, Amazing Fantasy number 15, he is nothing to do with Uncle Ben. He just says, very last panel, as he's walking off by himself, with great power, there must also come great responsibility. And they don't even get the line right. Everyone says, with great power comes great responsibility. Original line, with great power, there must also come great responsibility. And Ambassador's been enjoying us, so welcome, dude.
Gentlemen?
Ambassador,
Hi, Ambassador.
Introduce yourself to my audience.
Well, I call myself the Ambassador. My channel is called the Ambassadorial Wing. I talk pop culture, modern retro, and just so I give my credentials up front, I have been a Star Wars fan since 1984. I've seen the original trilogy more times than I can care to count, seen the prequel trilogy about as many times as I care to count. I am a fan of the EU. I have played more Star Wars games. I probably played every single major Star Wars title since ever. And the sequel trilogy was poorly conceived. I'll just say that.
Yeah.
Yep.
We've been talking about that. We spent half the stream
I was listening.
How bad it was.
Sorry to be an egocentric piece of censored word here, because PG-13. I just want to finish my point on Spider-Man 3, because I do not want to get cancelled on Twitter, even though I'm a private account. Spider-Man 3,
it sucks.
I
know, I'm on there.
Hold on. You can finish your point in a minute. Sure. Everyone knows, Ace and Ambassador's channels will both be linked in the description of my video.
And for the video that's on my channel, I'm going to link both Josh and Ambassador's channels. I'm just going to need the links for both you guys through the Discord DMs.
I will send that to you as soon as the video is over.
Yeah, sure. And I don't expect you don't have to do that, but I do appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, I give
I
credit
mean,
where it's due. I don't make
It's
money
a,
off here, but I still try to help people if I can.
it's
and
a
no, I appreciate it.
courtesy whenever I do, especially on the channel. I used to collab a lot, and every time I do collaborative things, I always link the other person's or people's channels.
And I generally do the same myself, particularly when I have guests on my channel. So I do the same thing. And can I just say, Josh, love the Iron Man helmet, and Ace,
Thank you.
love the guitar.
I've
Thanks.
had that for years.
I've had that probably
Cool.
since after I graduated high school and I had a job where I could pay for it.
I've actually had that, like, I was really young actually. When Iron Man came out,
Mhm.
I was like,
Don't tell
So
me
you were the
that held
kid at
up
Stark
again.
Plaza.
He beat me to it.
You were the kid at Stark Plaza.
Wait, was Stark
No.
Plaza or Stark Fair, whatever it was? We knew you were saying Iron Man 2.
Let me
Stark
think.
Expo. Stark
Expo, that's
Stark
it.
Expo. Yeah. Let me think. I'm 16 now. I would have probably been like 3 when it came out? Question mark. 2008 was it?
Oh, good grief! I'm the oldest person in the room.
It's all good, dude. I was graduating high school when that happened, and I'm now pushing 30.
Hey, Ambassador, don't assume I could be 67 for all you know. Like you guys can't even see my face. So
Could be.
Okay, well, Illium, how old are you?
Illium.
I'm 22. I'm 22.
I am the oldest person in the room.
Yeah, pretty much.
We're all geeks here, so hopefully you will get this clue. My age is the life, universe, and everything.
42,
So
42,
Generation
42,
Xer.
42, 42, 42, 42, 42, 42, 42.
I do not
42.
get the reference.
It's okay.
I'm a physics undergraduate, so if I do not get that reference, I have to commit suicide. I don't get to get that wrong.
Well, he kind of gave it away of like he saw
Can
the
we not
original
make
trilogy in
suicide
'84,
jokes
so I
here?
just figured he's a Generation X. So I couldn't put the exact number, but Illium was smart enough to figure it out because he's a physics guy. So, Ambassador, let me
Illium, well done.
It's
Since
nothing
you said
to do
that
by
you
being
had
smart.
seen-
It's because it's in Douglas Adams' Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy book, and I've never read that book. But my high school physics teacher,
I love that book.
He
I need to
always
read
used
it
to
still.
set up every.
You
My high
really
school
do.
physics teacher always used to set up physics questions in class, and he always used to make the answer 42,000 joules, 4.2 mega electron volts. He always used to deliberately change the values so that we'd get those answers. So
Yeah.
I've been traumatized by that number. So.
I'm sorry. I just love how Ambassador says that, and Illium just immediately goes 42, 42, 42, 42, 42, 42, 42.
So
well
Ambassador,
done.
since you had said that you'd
Thank
saw
you.
Star Wars back in '84, what was your opinion of the prequel trilogy as it came out? Like, what was your honest opinion? No judgment here.
My honest opinion, I loved it. And I'll give you a few reasons why. Now, I will say I did go through a dark
It
period.
was well written.
Yes, I did go through a dark period where I didn't necessarily like the prequels, but then I got away from all the online critics who were saying, "Oh, it's just trash, it's garbage." I asked myself one question. I actually went back and rewatched them. I said, "What was it about these movies that I loved?" And my appreciation for the prequels has actually evolved, but in a good way. One of the key things for me was the political intrigue, and particularly Palpatine. That was one thing I didn't pick up on it when I was younger, or anything, because I was in my late teens going into my 20s when the prequels came out. But I did as I got older and I rewatched them and I started digging into. One of the big things that really helped or anything, was back last year, I listened to the Darth Plagueis Audible book.
Mhm.
And that right there really filled in a lot of gaps. Not to mention, it's a great story just on its own. Not to mention, it was performed by one of my favorite actors, Daniel Davis, who was Niles the butler on The Nanny, and also was holodeck version of Professor Moriarty on Star Trek: Next Generation. And he did.
I hope you don't
think,
mind me cutting in real quick,
no,
but
please.
let me just say that Palpatine in the prequel trilogy was beautifully done.
Oh yes,
I absolutely love the way they did that.
yes.
Even McDermott brought his A game. And
McDermott, let me just say, McDermott was the perfect person to play Palpatine.
Well, he
And
was
is.
the idea. I mean, yeah, he well, the fact. Now, I will tell you all this brief story, and it is brief. It made my head hurt, quite literally, when me and my wife and two of our friends from college, we went to see Rise of Skywalker, and it made my brain hurt. I had a headache through the entire movie until the moment I got up and left. And I'll tell you all, granted, you all don't know me. I don't particularly know you that well. So, but I have never, and I've gone to the movies a lot in my life. It is one of only maybe 2 times in my life I have ever walked out of a movie. Now, the other time I believe was due to illness or whatever, but this one was due to pure disgust.
I gotta tell you, I didn't even bother with The Rise of Skywalker. I saw The Last Jedi one time, was pissed, said, screw this, I'm done.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, here's the crazy thing. Let me do this real quick, Josh, and then I'll zip it. I saw it twice. Me and my wife and one of my good friends from high school, we went to see it opening night. We saw The Last Jedi, and we walked out, and we were thoroughly blown away by what we had just seen.
Mm-hmm.
And then a couple days later, after a few days, I was like, "There's something wrong here. Like there was something very wrong with this movie." And we went back Christmas Day.
Complaints about the Praetorian Guards.
I didn't catch that. Let me finish this real quick, and then you can tell me by all means. Me, myself, my wife, and my mother, we went to see it, and that's when it hit me. The shoddy writing, and most of all,
Rian Johnson.
Luke.
Yeah.
Dang right.
Luke. Anyway, okay.
Murdered character assassination.
They do that to Luke?
If you look under the definition of character assassination, you'll see next to it, watch The Last Jedi.
I know, right?
Kind of like that episode of The Simpsons. Josh, your thoughts on the Praetorian Guards, please.
The Praetorian Guards, their armor, like I mentioned earlier to Ace, and I watch a lot of Shadiversity, who's a YouTuber that talks about history.
Yes.
Shadiversity, yeah. So the Praetorian Guard, their armor is ridiculous, and their fighting style is ridiculous, and the disappearing blade was ridiculous. Also, they would have been tripping over those capes over and over again,
probably.
Realistically,
but they were a copy of a far superior royal guard, and specifically the Emperor's Imperial Guard.
Mm-hmm. My question is,
the Emperor's Imperial Guard, those guards existed during the Clone Wars. You see them...
Yes, in Episode 2.
No.
Well, you see the prototypes in Episode 1 at the end of the movie when Palpatine arrives in the booth, but in blue uniforms. You see the actual red uniforms in the opposite in Episode 3.
But, no, you see those guys in those red uniforms, you see them flanking Palpatine on both sides, I think during Ahsoka's trial.
It's been a little bit since I've watched Clone Wars, but you might be right. So, but yeah, the Imperial Guards made their first real appearance in Attack at the end of Attack of the Clones. Well, actually, a couple of times during the Attack of the Clones. here's the thing. I don't know how good you all are at your lore. You may know this, you may not. Palpatine actually started to conscript the senatorial guard into and convert them into his imperial guardsmen, and then later on they opened up the academy where they brought in the best of the best of the stormtrooper conscripts and anyone that might have some level of force sensitivity into the royal guard. Do you all remember a EU story called Crimson Empire and Crimson Empire 2?
I've heard of it. I haven't.
I didn't finish reading the first one, so I haven't even touched the second one yet, to be quite honest.
Okay.
I haven't read it.
You haven't or have, Illium?
I haven't read it.
Okay. It's actually a really cool story. It's the Crimson Empire 1, the first part, centers around a rivalry between two former Imperialist guardsmen that survived after the fall of the Empire, and they were within the Imperial remnant.
Mhm.
And
Hold that thought.
Sure, yeah.
Ace just disappeared.
Yeah, I think he froze.
He might have pressed the button like I did earlier in the stream, where I kicked myself out for a minute.
Well, his picture froze, but he spoke, so I think he had a glitch. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it can happen. Go ahead.
Live viewer. Okay.
Don't ask me. I
do not know what's going on right now. Hold on. I'll quickly send a message to Ace. What happened?
Oh yeah, for the record, viewers, Spider-Man 3 is actually my favorite of the trilogy. Unironically, I really like that film. If you guys don't like it, that's fair enough. But I rewatched it in October, and I actually liked it a lot because.
Is the stream?
I'll talk about that later. For now, yeah, the stream's still going on.
Yeah, the stream's still going.
Is it still going through to YouTube?
Yeah. Yeah, I've got a tab open there.
Should be. Yeah.
That we're still live. I think, like I said, I think Ace just had a glitch, so
yeah, don't worry. He should be back any second. Don't worry.
Illium, to kind of follow up your comment there, I actually enjoyed I did for the most part enjoy Spider-Man 3. My one main criticism is it had too many villains.
Yeah,
and the way that they handled having three villains, particularly with Harry as the new Goblin, and then him getting amnesia and then getting his memory back. Yeah. That part bothered me. If they had focused on just Harry and Eddie Brock and left Sandman out, I think that would have been a really interesting way to.
Yeah, and the whole story arc with Sandman just totally confused me. And actually, fun fact about the Spider-Man movies is like I watched one. I don't remember when or which one it was, but the first one with Electro in it, I think it was. God, I had nightmares.
Actually, that was Amazing Spider-Man number 2.
Amazing Spider-Man 2. Amazing Spider-Man 2.
I had
that was the one with Electro.
About that.
Yeah.
For like a week after I watched that movie, and I was like, Electro legitimately gave me nightmares.
I've actually never seen it. Now, I did go see Amazing Spider-Man when it came out. I actually went to a midnight showing for it.
Hold on.
Okay.
You can keep talking. I'm looking for something.
Okay. I actually went to a midnight showing of that, and actually, I really enjoyed it. I mean, I thought Andrew Garfield was a pretty good Spider-Man. I thought he looked maybe just a little too old to be a high schooler. I would have maybe preferred him to be like college age Peter rather than high school. But again, I did like the villain. I did like the Lizard with Kirk Connors, and I thought the guy that got to play Kirk Connors actually did a pretty good job. And I will say this: they had one of my all-time favorite actors in that movie, and that's Dennis Leary.
I do want to say something this is very controversial, actually,
Mhm.
but I'm not a huge fan of the MCU Spider-Man.
Can
That's
you guys
fair.
hear me?
Yeah, we
Yes.
can hear you. Just
All
can't
right,
see
yeah,
you.
I've been able to hear
Yeah,
you
yeah.
guys. My camera crapped out on me, and first, I guess it was actually doing my audio as well. I thought I had it set up, so now
Oh, and he's out again.
We lost Ace again.
Do you want to see some literal nightmare fuel, which was Electro?
Oh, he's back.
Okay.
The audio might start in like 20 seconds because I know when I join these, sometimes takes some time.
Do you want to see this nightmare fuel?
Sure, why not?
And can you put my screen on stream, Ace?
sure.
Whoa.
It was
Yeah,
Electro.
actually, I've seen that.
That terrified me when I first watched The Amazing Spider-Man 2.
I mean, you were 9 years old. That's fair enough. Yeah,
You were young.
No,
Josh,
I wasn't. It wasn't. It was more recently than that, actually. When I watched it on TV, I was probably maybe like 12 at the time.
Mhm.
Ambassador,
And it still gave me nightmares for like a week. Go ahead.
Ambassador, sorry, you were saying something really interesting about the villain, and you're saying your comments on the film.
Oh, well, in terms of Kirk Connors and in turn, the actor that got to play him, I thought did a very good job. The thing for me is a lot of Spider-Man, not all, but several of Spider-Man's villains are somewhat sympathetic, and I'm glad that they played him up that way. The only thing that bothered me was his grand scheme, and that was trying to turn everyone into a lizard in Brooklyn. That was the only thing that kind of bothered me. The other thing I was going to say was they had Dennis Leary in that movie as the police captain and everything, if I remember correctly, and he was
Gwen Stacy's dad.
Captain Stacy.
Exactly.
Yeah. Captain Stacy.
There's another. Yeah. There's, and I'll just say this: I hope I got the right name for the right actress, Emma Stone.
Mm-hmm.
I think was
she
did. I think she did a wonderful job as Gwen Stacy, and she's another one of my favorite actresses or actors. But the thing is about Dennis Leary, he was in another favorite movie of mine from back in the '90s called Demolition Man. And everything. I don't know if y'all have ever heard of it or not, but
I was watching that a few hours ago with my dad. I was watching that a few hours ago with my dad for the first time. I've never seen it before. And there was a Luke Skywalker reference. Luke Skywalker used it. I've only seen the first half of the film, but you can spoil it. Don't worry. It's like almost 30 years old. You can spoil it. Don't worry.
Well, I won't necessarily spoil it, but I just want to ask you of what you saw. What did you think? Did you like it?
Yeah, I've like Stallone. Like my dad and I really want to watch First Blood, but
you should.
Our Prime account, our Prime account's my uncle's, my dad's brother, and we have to rent the film, but it's linked to my uncle's card. And I said to my dad, I was like, Dad, we're not gonna rent First Blood without uncle's consent, and like have £5, minus £5 in his account. But I want to watch First Blood with him. And I've seen a lot. I've seen like the classic, this is not nothing is over a speech from Stallone in First Blood, and I've read like a lot about the film, and I like a film that portrays a veteran like with real issues, and he defends his home, and he comes back to the US, and like the guy's a hero. Like he's defending his home, and everyone hates him just because people think that every soldier's like, I find that really interesting. And,
actually,
sorry for the deviation. Sorry, go on, Josh, and I'll get back to my point.
So actually, Ambassador Illium, since you guys brought up the topic of Spider-Man, actually, I'm of the very, very controversial opinion that the MCU Spider-Man is not that great.
I'm actually in agreement with you, Josh.
I do enjoy the Spider-Man in the Avengers movies, but in Homecoming, Far From Home didn't quite sell it for me. I mean, I wasn't that big of a fan of it. In fact, actually, I watched Homecoming with my grandparents on TV,
Mhm.
and when I saw Far From Home on Plus, I was almost considering not watching it,
Mhm.
but I watched
Well,
it because I
uh,
wanted to see what the hype was about.
yeah. Well, and Josh, I'll say this. And I've made this comment before. Grant not here, but I'll make this comment. Art, like many things in life, is subjective,
Yeah,
and
very true.
everyone is going to have their opinion of it.
Hmm.
So, what you may consider a hot take or a controversial take,
Mm-hmm.
it's your take, it's your perspective, and you are very much entitled to it. Yeah, I learned a long time ago that when it comes to any form of art, whether it be the written word or painting or sculpture or film, one beauty, I know this is a cliche, but it's a cliche that I think is apt here. Beauty is in the
The
eye of the
eye of the
beholder.
beholder.
One person's masterpiece is another person's dumpster fire.
Gutter
To use
trash.
yes. So
One
for you to
man's
say
trash is another man's treasure.
yes. So for you to say you don't like Tom Holland's turn as Spider-Man, that is
Mm-hmm.
your perspective. You are entitled to it. Nobody's
Mm-hmm.
gonna. I'm one guy and everything in this broad thing called YouTube. So I try to give everybody a fair hearing and a fair shake in terms of their of what stance they have on a piece of work. I mean, for heaven's sakes, I'm taking a stab at writing a fan fiction that essentially is how I would have wanted to see the sequel trilogy play out. And I'm going to.
Actually,
Like that myself, dude.
that's a
Oh
very
wow.
good thing you bring that up because I
Mhm.
myself, I'm in the process of writing a not only a role play with one of my friends that I've known
Mhm.
for quite a bit,
Yeah.
but also scripts for animations I'm going to make on my secondary YouTube channel. And
Cool.
this RP is also going to be animations. And I've also considered writing an animation for an entire alternate sequel trilogy.
Cool. Well, the motivation for mine, and I've been working on this since September. I'm planning to have it done by June 25th, which has a special personal significance and everything. And I can tell it's not a big deal to me. But the main reason why I decided to write this, I asked myself two questions in terms of how I felt about. I mean, I did a one-off stream review of Rise of Skywalker, and I haven't revisited since. But there was one thing in that movie that really bothered me, and that was Rey taking the Skywalker last name when
That
I felt she had.
when she said, sorry for interrupting, but when she said Rey
Hmm,
Skywalker at the very end,
hmm.
if my mom wasn't there, I would have gotten up and thrown the popcorn because I did not appreciate that. Where'd you go, Ambassador?
I'm back.
I really did not appreciate that because she said
Yeah.
that, and I was like,
Hmm.
"No, you are not a Skywalker. You have no
Well,
right to carry that
yeah.
name."
Well, the reason why I feel the way I do is because it ties very personally into my own, and I don't want to sound like some weirdo online or anything, but it ties very personally into my own
Oh,
personal background.
uh-huh.
And the fact is, I am actually adopted. I was adopted at birth, and for me, the fact that the family that adopted me gave me my name,
Mm-hmm.
and I am part of this family. I have been for 42 years. Now, I was able to contact, and I had for a while kept in touch with my biological mother. But that for me was a big slap in the face on a personal level because
Mm-hmm.
Ray didn't earn that name. So that was part of the impetus for me starting this fan fiction to correct what I felt was a very grievous error. And
Grievous.
Anyway.
Yeah, so Rey, oh, God, she has
So-
no right to call herself a Skywalker and
Yeah.
no right to call herself a Jedi because she
What?
literally picked up a light, started swinging it around, and suddenly,
Yeah.
like she didn't even. It still boggles my mind that she
Mhm.
went staff to lightsaber with
Well,
no training at all.
well,
What
one of
annoys
the
me is some of these people that come up with fan fictions for like not talk about the sequels, but prequels. Like they try to belittle like what Skywalker means. There was like one video some guy did of what the prequels should have been and so on and so forth. Something about like how Skywalker isn't Anakin's real name. It's like, oh, he's taken on like the mantle. He's like this great thing, the Skywalker or something. I think you're belittling a character's name. Names do have meanings and stories, including Star Wars. I mean, yeah, we have silly names like, oh, General Grievous or Newt Gunray, but there's still it's still fiction. Take it as you will.
And actually,
Yes.
General Grievous, there is some significance to that name. I'm pretty sure Grievous chose that name for himself because, well, the way he became General Grievous, we all know the story of he was a Kaleesh warrior and he hated the Jedi, and all that. And then he got blown up and the explosion was blamed on the Jedi. So he called himself General Grievous because he was grievous.
he was grieved.
Mm-hmm.
But
But back to the topic of Rey. I've actually had quite a few toxic people that either call me sexist because I hate Rey's character, even though I've never said anything in reference to even the fact that she's a woman. It's all that she's poorly written. Not that she's a woman, not that she's whatever. It's that she's poorly written. And I get called sexist for not liking the character. And racist for not liking Finn's character.
Like
but,
even John Boyega doesn't like Finn's character. He said he doesn't even play as Finn's character on Battlefront 2. I think when the guy who played the character doesn't even play as his own character in Battlefront 2, you did his character dirty.
Well, a little bit about what I've done. I've actually, and I may have to go back and do like a part 1 and part 2 to my fan fiction, but I'm going to finish this part first. But it may turn out to be my own version of the sequel trilogy, how I would like it to go. But I've actually put a few things in there to make both Rey and Finn, and also Ben Solo, better characters. At least, yes, better characters. For one, Rey and Finn. Rey has gone through training, and she's gone through training under Luke. She is going. I set my fan fiction. I set my fan fiction a year and a half after the events of Last Jedi, and like I said, I may go back and rewrite Last Jedi to where it flows into my story. And I think I may go back and do a part 1. But the thing is, I've had her training under Luke, and in my version, Luke is alive.
Please tell me that your version totally throws out the window everything that Ruin Johnson and JJ did to Luke.
Yes. Yes, God. It does. Now, the one remark that Luke has said, and this is early on in my story. I'm actually on part 8. It's going to be a 12-part fan fiction with a epilogue. And I've put up the first 5 parts on my channel. It's like my rough draft and everything. It's changed since then because I've even redone the beginning where I've removed the whole Wayfinder thing and I've kind of streamlined it. I've made it simpler.
That Wayfinder was ridiculous.
Yes. The things I have done, one of the most important things I did is I gave Snoke a backstory, and it's a backstory that makes sense for a character of his magnitude, or what should have been a character of his magnitude. And I've heard... Go ahead.
Continue.
I'll just say this, and then you can. His existence stretches back all the way to the prehistory of the Republic. He is that old of a character.
Mhm.
He, I don't want to ruin this per se, particularly for you all, but I'll say this. You do see Snoke in the Clone Wars animated series. But I've taken that. Okay, I'll just say it. He is the son of Mortis.
Oh, wow.
That would actually be interesting.
I've actually never heard that as an idea before, but I love the idea. I mean,
Okay.
That's better than what I had as fan fiction.
what was yours?
I'm gonna let Ambassador finish what he has to say first.
Okay.
Okay. I'll make it quick. Essentially, what happened when the son's body was destroyed, his spirit latched onto Anakin, and he helped in the fall in Anakin's fall. When Anakin was defeated on Mustafar, when Palpatine goes to touch Anakin's forehead, and he does, the son leaps into Palpatine's body, and they become co-conspirators. Now, one other thing I put in there. Palpatine had a great affinity and appreciation for genetics, genetic engineering, and cloning. The body we see, and I may keep that part, but I may change the appearance because I've only used pictures of Snoke from the sequel trilogy, in particular from The Last Jedi. But I may do a redesign on him. I've got several friends who are artists and everything, and I may ask them to do a redesign to where Snoke looks more like the son from Clone Wars, from the Mortis arc. But when Palpatine is destroyed, and he is destroyed,
thank you,
the son transfers his spirit to one of those clone bodies and takes on the name of Snoke, which is kind of an anagram, which I may go back and explain this at some point, which is an anagram for the name, the son and Luke.
Mm-hmm.
Because think about it. Who caused Palpatine's destruction? Yes, Anakin. Yes, this is true. But who was the motivating factor? Luke. So the son created an anagram name for himself and called himself Snoke.
Okay.
Anyway, that's my bit.
I love that.
Ace,
actually, I'm gonna.
That is interesting.
Well, actually, I'm gonna let Ace. I'm gonna explain the character I made.
That is actually insane. Like that's some really good conceptual thinking right there. I really like that, honestly.
Okay, I'm gonna let Ace.
That's actually really cool.
Do a quick thing of what his thing for Snoke was, and then I'm gonna explain a character I created.
Well, my thing for Snoke is part of a little video I have planned in the works. I wanted to release it back in the winter, but I just got so out of hand with work. And you have to excuse me if I cut out. I'm gonna try to keep going. But anyway, my part of my fan fiction would have just been like how the rise of Skywalker could have redeemed the sequel trilogy, even leaving Force Awakens and the Last Dumpster Fire as they were. Well, for just the Snoke portion, like have there be this whole thing of like the opening crawl says the galaxy is fractured. Both the Resistance and the First Order have been weakened since the last film. Obviously not saying that in the last crawl, but basically the Resistance has gradually rebuilt itself, winning support from planets, but the First Order is split in two between Kylo Ren loyalists and Snoke loyalists who believe that they're not dead. Basically, Kylo Ren leads his faction, and then the other faction is led by General Hux, who thinks Snoke cannot possibly really be dead. And both the sides of the First Order get a distress call from the unknown regions, and they reach the planet, both fighting each other and whatnot. And when they get to this temple, this hidden temple, Snoke comes out of it completely alive, and they're both just in awe of like, how is this possible? We saw you die. And Snoke says to him, to cheat death is a power only I have achieved. So dun dun dun,
Plagueis.
Yeah,
I knew it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
And the whole reasoning, like, okay, so if Plagueis cheated his death when Palpatine killed him, why has he waited till now to return? He basically, the reasoning is since Palpatine killed him, he waited until there was a power vacuum left by Palpatine's death to swoop in and take over the remnants of the Empire. And also, he figured with him being dead, he could allow the Chosen One to fill the prophecy of destroying the Sith. And then once that prophecy was fulfilled, Plagueis could return as a non-Sith because he would have learned about the Chosen One prophecy and realized, I must become more than a Sith. So he thinks that, like kind of make a Kreia type
modern day
archetype where basically he thinks he is neither Jedi nor Sith. He is just the Force or something, even though he is a twisted idea of that.
So I'm going to tell you about a character I created that I might actually use to explain the creation of Snoke. His name, the name of the body he is in, I'm going to use as a hint, is Throckvales. He is Sith pureblood in the modern eras. So the story behind him is he's been around for thousands of years. Guess who his original body was? Tenebrae, aka Vitiate.
AKA Valkorian.
AKA Valkorian, and then when he becomes Valkorian, and then he kind of goes off the radar after his original Tenebrae body was destroyed. He had latched his spirit onto someone else, his anchor, but that anchor, he kept moving his anchor about as the years went by, because time goes by, people die. But then, when Darth Plagueis, Ego de Mask, comes along, he not only moves his anchor to Palpatine, but he takes over Plagueis' body. And he basically, Vitiate becomes Plagueis. And then after Plagueis' death, since he's anchored to Palpatine, Vitiate moves to the body of Throckvales, which he had been keeping hidden on the planet Geonosis for centuries. And he switches to this body. Sith alchemy is capable of many things.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm using Sith alchemy for this. And he moves to the body of Throckvales. And Throckvales goes to a long time descendant of Revan, known as Darth Nash, and he builds the Revanite cult, bringing Revan back to life, anchoring himself to Revan.
Interesting.
And I might turn Throckvales. I might make Vitiate. I might make the Throckvales body degrade because it's.
You muted yourself.
Josh, you muted yourself, bud.
I accidentally unplugged my headset. So because the Throckvales body has been, sitting around for thousands of years waiting to be used, it could degrade and become Snoke. I'm leaning towards doing that, but I may and may not. We'll see in my animations.
Oh. Well, I had to come up with a title. I had a working title which is still on there, but I came up with the proper title for my fan fiction. I came up with an intro, and once I'm done with this, I'm actually going to do it like a radio drama or an internet drama or something like that. I'm going to cast it and everything, and I'm actually going to be reaching into I'm going to be contacting the people in the Discord that you and me are on, Ace, and saying, "Hey, this is my project. Who wants to be in?" But the other thing I felt I had to do was I had to write an intro. And I think like an opening crawl, essentially. You could see this in yellow text going against a star field. The title of my fan fiction is "The Unity of the Force."
I like that.
Yeah.
I tried to come up with something that had not been used for fan fictions or EU or anything or any original um,
Mm-hmm.
stories that Lucasfilm had put out. Okay. Over a year has passed since the events on Crate. Across the galaxy, the First Order and New Republic rebuild their forces. The worlds that make up the Shattered Republic fortify themselves against the combined might of the Imperial Remnant and First Order. On the world of Octu, Luke Skywalker has been guiding the young Force wielder Rey, aiding in her the development of her skills in the Force. Bringing fresh insight into Rey's training, Anakin, Obi-Wan, and Yoda have sought to break the cycle of conflict that has existed among the adherents of the Force. Kylo Ren has been plagued by a voice in his mind, beckoning him to the unknown regions of the galaxy. Leaving the shipyards of Fondor, he travels to a world nearly forgotten by the galaxy. A world whose very name makes many people's blood run cold. Exegol.
I
Mm-hmm.
like that crawl.
I like that. And also, when you do this, count me in.
Okay,
Count me in
I'd
too,
love
dude.
to be part of that.
sure. I've
Um,
got a lot of people who have expressed interest in this and everything, and this for me is
and
like I
actually,
say, it's a passion. It's a
do-
passion
do-
project.
would any of the three of you be interested in joining the team on my animations team, voice acting and stuff?
Your what team?
My team for my animations talking about making.
I'm getting weird feedback from you.
The animations I'm talking about making.
Oh.
Would any of you be interested in being part of them?
It
Yeah,
would just
I'd be up
depend
for
on
it.
time frame. If I'm
That as
free, if I am free, I would be more than happy to help you out. Absolutely.
A
Same.
link to the server attached to it and posted in our private chat here.
Okay.
There.
Oh wait.
Right, we do
The
have
private chat in StreamYard.
Okay.
What was I going to say?
I think I think that sounds interesting, but like I don't know. Like I'm just thinking like it depends on if I feel like the roles, if I could do the role, if that makes sense, or whatever is needed, if that makes sense.
Actually, you're from the UK. You have the right accent. Chiss
Oh,
characters. You could do some Chiss characters.
I mean the prequels, like if I don't know if you guys noticed the prequels in all three of them, like
Mhm.
there's a lot of UK actors that play really big roles, and I just found that really funny. I don't know why. Not necessarily UK and Ireland, because Liam Neeson's not from the UK; he's from Ireland. So
Isn't Ian McDermott from somewhere over there?
I think he's
Maybe
from
like-
England.
Yes, I think he's from England. Yeah, I think
Hang
he's.
on,
Yeah,
I'm
I
gonna
think-
search him up. Ian.
Well, and you know, it's
Ewan
funny.
McGregor's from Scotland. He's from Scotland.
Yeah,
McGregor.
he's a good old Scottish lad. Well, and you know, I had to, on top of all of this, I had to create a cast list, and I have to keep track of where everybody is at. And I'll run.
Ian
I'll
is
rattle off.
Scottish.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay, continue, Ambassador. Sorry about that.
I think you'll have to
right.
DM me the Discord link because I can't log into Discord on my computer. I'm gonna have to do it on my phone.
The cast list is fairly simple. Well, and I've created some original characters of my own as well. Of course, you got Rey. I elevated Poe to a general. Got Finn,
which he deserves.
Yes.
Poe
got
is
Finn.
actually sorry.
No, it's okay. It's all right, Josh. Go ahead.
Poe is actually one of the very few sequel trilogy characters that I actually liked.
Him and Finn had the most potential, but they were squandered.
Yeah. I've kind of kept Finn to the sidelines for the time being. I've had him kind of doing administrative stuff, relatively speaking. But at the end, he's going to have his moment.
Wasn't Poe a commander at the start of the Last Jedi?
I think so. Yes, or something
He was
along those lines.
demoted to captain by Leia, who should know the cost of war. Freaked out about him.
Of course, got Finn, got Luke Skywalker. I made Leia a general as well, and she goes by her family name. She goes by Skywalker. I kind of hyphenated her name to Skywalker Solo. I've got the 3 Force Ghosts. I've got Ben, obviously. I've got General Hux, Snoke. I don't know how you all are going to feel about this, but I thought these two were a good addition to my story, particularly the parts that they play. But I added in Grogu and I added in Ahsoka.
Ooh,
interesting. Yeah. I like that.
Well,
I'm intrigued.
Yeah, I've got 3PO, obviously. Now the rest of these, well, some of these, I've got Admiral Akbar in there. I made Wedge Antilles a general as well. Got Lando Calrissian. And now the rest of these are characters I created. I've got Lieutenant Race Maydean, who is a relative of General Crix Maydean, who we see in Return of the Jedi. I've got Arcane. Go ahead.
I'm going to cut in for a second.
Sure.
Did you know Captain Rex was actually, or Commander Rex was actually on Endor?
Yes, I did.
And also...
Yeah, I know about that retcon. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I absolutely hate the way they took out Akbar in Last Jedi. He did not do that.
Well, in my story, Admiral Akbar is alive and well. I did include. Go ahead, Illium.
Sorry to interrupt.
That's all right. Go ahead.
I like the how it should have ended version of Akbar, like where Akbar did the light speed thing, and while he's doing that, he's talking general. He's like, "Do you know what this is? It's a trap!" And yeah, that would have been really cool.
I feel like Holdo Akbar should have places because Holdo's ending would have been a lot more fitting for Akbar, and Holdo just sucked as a character.
I think
that's how it should have ended. That's exactly how it should have ended. It said that Akbar should have had it because of seniority. That's what.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
For what I mentioned for my fan fiction, for like if you had kept Force Awakens and Last Dumpster Fire intact but redeemed them through the Rise of Skywalker, one thing you could do, at least that I had in mind, was basically say that whole Holdo maneuver. It wasn't because she weaponized light speeds, because she basically overpowered the hyperdrive engines, low on fuel, and basically they exploded at sublight speed. So that's why, all that debris destroyed all those starships. And it wasn't just to destroy the First Orders, because she turns out was a sleeper agent for Snoke, who said, if anything happens to me, I want you to destroy half the fleet. I will not let Kylo Ren have control of that much of our armada.
Yeah,
and I actually, the Holdo maneuver. I totally forgot. Your voice, by the way, just now sounded a lot like Eckhart Slatter.
Well, the interesting thing is I actually have a double agent in my fan fiction as well. But it's a double agent for, or it's rather an undercover spy for the New Republic. And it's a female character who's an Arcanian that I named Taelis. And I've actually got a group of Chiss in there, and I have a Colonel Burdett, who also is working with the New Republic military. I created several side characters for both sides, the New Republic and both the First Order and the Imperial Remnant, because I like the concept of the Imperial Remnant being a thing in the sequel trilogy. And as I said, I've unintentionally planned this. Go ahead.
The Imperial Remnant, you could actually have that group of Chiss, or at least one or two of the members be related to Thrawn.
Now, I do reference Thrawn. I do reference him because there was a conversation I have between my Chiss Colonel Burdett and Agent Callus or General Callus from Rebels. And she says, I'm kind of paraphrasing here, Thrawn knew that the Chiss Ascendancy couldn't take on the Empire.
Mhm.
We simply weren't strong enough.
Wouldn't Callus be dead by this point?
No. As far as we know, he would be old.
As old as Leia, maybe.
He might be old, but he's still alive because he was still alive at the end of Rebels.
Mm-hmm.
True.
And I liked his character, and I wanted to kind of beef up my.
Callus.
Yeah, I thought he had a good arc.
He was one of my favorite Rebels characters, actually.
Like that idiot Cosmonaut Variety Hour. He said something about like, oh, they should have given more characterization to the one alien guy on the Phoenix crew. And I thought that episode where him and Agent Callus are stuck on that one planet together, I thought that was a good characterization for both of them and showed, oh, Callus might not be such a bad guy. He could be redeemable. And what do you know? He was redeemed.
When that episode happened with Callus and Zeb,
thank you.
I was rooting for them to become good partners and allies. Mm-hmm. And then what do you know? They did. Callus became a spy for the Rebels. He became Fulcrum 2.0.
Yeah.
The only episodes of Rebels I really watched is when at the end of season 2, when they go to that temple and I think Maul's introducing the show, and he tries to entice Ezra, and the twin sons episode with Ben, because Maul, I loved Maul as a child, and Obi-Wan was my favorite as a kid as well, so I had to watch those episodes, and they were great.
Are you talking about the episode on
Twilight of the Apprentice?
Going to the bathroom.
It's probably called Twilight of the Apprentice. I think that's what it's called.
I think it is. Yeah,
because
that's
part 1 and part 2. Part 1 and part 2.
What was the planet? Malachor.
Oh yeah.
Malachor.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I also watched. I can't remember. Sorry, because I haven't watched the show too much. But feel free to spoil it. Don't worry, because I feel like I've seen all the quote unquote main stuff, all the stuff that I'm interested in. Like I saw the episode where Ezra and the guy he's with infiltrate the station where Thrawn's working, and I love Thrawn's logic, and like I kind of like how cold he is.
Thrawn is actually Filoni did Thrawn extremely well. Like if you compare Filoni's Thrawn in Rebels to the Thrawn in the books, they are very, very similar. And I love the way Dave did it.
Yeah.
Dave Filoni's so good, man. Like have you guys seen the behind the scenes stuff with Mando and Dave?
I've watched some of it.
I think it's episode 3. Watch Star Wars Theories video on it, and you guys will understand what I'm talking about. Filoni literally spends 8 minutes talking about the prequels and how they're actually so good. Like at the end of Phantom Menace, it's called Duel of the Fates because Anakin's fate is at stake, and I love that Filoni has so much insight. Like you'd think only George has that kind of insight, and Filoni is just so eloquent with his words, and he just explains it perfectly. Like Qui-Gon's the father that Anakin needs, and if Qui-Gon had survived, then Anakin never would have fell to the dark side. And it's just poetry in motion, you know. When Qui-Gon perished,
I want to say the way that Dave created and wrote Ahsoka's character was perfect. I mean,
I'd say it was pretty close. Yeah.
And the intentional character flaws at the start, the way she was at the start to the way she is now in Mando, Ahsoka's character development is spot on as it should be. And I love Ahsoka. I love Ahsoka. There's no other way to put it. Ahsoka is a wonderfully written character.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Well, and
I'd
the
argue
cool
at the
thing.
beginning. Sorry, go on,
Go ahead.
Ambassador. Go on.
No, go ahead.
No, it's fine.
please.
It's fine.
Go ahead. Okay.
I'd argue that at the sorry. Go ahead.
No, it's all right. Go ahead.
I was confused. Okay, I'll make it quick. Don't worry. I'd argue at the beginning of Clone Wars, Ahsoka, like, she reminded me a lot of Anakin, like that brashness and arrogance. I actually really liked. Like, a lot of people didn't like her. I liked that. She was a lot like Anakin, but in a good way. Like, she wanted to, one of the first episodes in season 1, when the Jedi Council and Obi-Wan were saying, "Oh, don't rescue R2. He's just a bloody droid, you know, like no one cares about R2, like this and that." And Anakin's like, "Yeah, you're right, you know." And then he turns it off the comms and he's like, "Okay, we're going to get R2." Like, I loved the way Clone Wars did both Anakin and Ahsoka. Hayden did a great job, but I think Clone Wars showed the other side of Anakin as well, like the one who's, you know, the one who's willing to do like
Whatever
Ahsoka said in the
to save a friend.
Yeah.
Yes.
like Ahsoka said in Mando, he was the best of us, you know, like that.
And in Rebels, even she pulls up the hologram of Anakin on the holocron.
Yes.
And
which episode is this? Because I actually might want to watch this
2.
after the stream.
It's in season 2 somewhere.
Like early
Okay.
episode season 2.
Yeah, it's
All right,
in
cool.
season 2.
Yeah,
The-
and she was talking about how great of a master he was. And actually, when I initially watched, because the first content of Clone Wars I watched was the Clone Wars movie, and when I watched it, I saw Ahsoka, like the way Ahsoka acted, I was like, the perfect fit to be Anakin's Padawan.
I agree.
Like, she could have no better master. Anakin could have no better Padawan.
Yeah. Well, the thing I did.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Josh. It's all right. Then I'll say.
Actually, in my story, the way I'm doing things is so Anakin. The turn you'll understand when the animations actually come out, but Anakin never turns to the dark side because Palpatine was killed long before he could do that. You'll understand the whole story when it's actually out. But so Anakin and Padme had Leia and Luke. Leia and Luke were put into the Jedi Order, and Ahsoka is Leia's master.
Cool. I like that. Well, the things I did with Ahsoka and particularly with Grogu, this is something I'm gonna have to extrapolate a little bit more when I finish this part and go back and do parts 1 and 2. Ahsoka is a teacher now, and she's helping train Finn and Rey, and she's actually helping Ben a little bit. The thing I did was I put Ahsoka and I put Grogu on Tython, but I made Tython differently than what we saw in Mando season 2. It isn't just that one stone and that's it. There are still temples that exist. The majority of those temples have been untouched by the Empire. Essentially, what I said was that Yoda and Obi-Wan hid its location in the records so that the Empire couldn't get to it, and that's where I had the New Republic military, where one of their bases be on Ahch-To. Unfortunately, Ahch-To gets discovered and the base gets destroyed by most everyone. And I don't want to spoil one part because one part is really, really important, so I will not spoil this. But in part 5, the First Order and the Imperial Remnant find the base. Most everybody is gone, but there's a couple of people left behind, unfortunately. But the New Republic sets up base on Tython, and they also have a base on Mon Cala, and they have a base on Manon and a few other planets as well that I mentioned during my story.
So you mentioned that Tython still has like ruins of temples and stuff?
Not so much ruins. They're more they're habitable. and everything.
So you
'cause
mentioned that the temples are still there.
Mhm.
I have a question. Have you played Star Wars: The Old Republic?
I have not. I have played Knights of the Old Republic and Sith Lords, but I have not played the MMO. But I have seen.
Does Tython have the ruins or even a more modernized version of the Twi'lek settlement Kalikori village? Are you gonna write that into there?
Probably not. That really isn't a part of my story. Now
But
the
it
thing
could
I
be
have,
like side thing,
it could
like
be
hey,
something
this exists.
off to the side, but it's not really essential to my story. So I'll probably just leave it. I'll probably leave it out. But the thing that I have done is in the part I've the rough draft videos I have up go up to part 5. I have written part 6, 7, and I'm almost done with part 8. I've got 4 parts left. I've got roughly a month and a half left and everything to finish it before I make my big announcement and move forward with the project. But the thing I did with Tython is I made it a place where not only the New Republic could have a military base for the group that I'm focusing on, but it was also a place where Ahsoka and Grogu have been hiding out, quote unquote. But it's a place where also Finn and Rey and now Ben, because I redeem Ben.
Actually, I want to mention something.
Sure.
You mentioned Ahsoka. She would be in her 70s around this time, right?
Yeah, but her race is
But
fairly long. Her race is fairly long lived, so she would
no,
still be. She would
I've
still
read
be.
up that the average lifespan of a Togruta is only about 80 some years.
Well, the thing, my
Average
fanfic,
or Jedi average.
the thing is, Josh, it's a fan fiction, so I'm not being. I'm being fairly faithful to the lore and to the world, but again, it's a fan fiction, so I'm kind of tinkering with things a little bit. So
Yeah.
she's
That makes sense.
she is a teacher. She will have her moment where she does get to go into combat again and so on. And the same can be said for Grogu, but Grogu is not going to be like an active combatant. That's not my role for him.
Well,
He is
obviously not. Even at like however old, he'd still be
exactly
a child.
Yeah. Grogu is essentially my equivalent of a force nuclear weapon because
Oh my god.
he's going to be exceedingly powerful because of the connection. Okay. One of the reasons why I titled this the way I did, The Unity of the Force. Not only did I want to rectify Rey's story, but I wanted to tell a story that built into the universe as a whole. And I don't know, again, I don't know how well you all know your lore and everything in terms of the EU, and particularly with the ancient Jedi and so on, and the ancient Force wielders. But the story I'm telling essentially restructures, okay, not restructures, bad choice of words. It reveals why the Great Schism within the early Jedi Order took place and why the Force, for so long, has been divided, has been split. And Snoke, or the son, plays a major part in this because he and the daughter, this is a major spoiler, he tells Ben, or Kylo Ren, whichever name you want to go by, that there was a time when only the Father existed. The Father resembled or embodied the Force in balance, unified, not splintered or fractured.
Mm-hmm.
What my story is doing not only does, like I said, it fixes Rey and all the other issues I have with the sequel trilogy, but it also rectifies a major part of a conflict that has been going on essentially since the dawn of what would be known as the Jedi Order.
When they were the Jedi Order.
The Jedi. Yeah, exactly. But the reason I don't use the term Jedi or Sith, I simply use the term Force wielder throughout the majority of my fan fiction. I only reference Jedi or Sith when it pertains to those two factions. Is because there was a time when a Jedi or Jedi was simply a person that was a practitioner of the Force, that recognized that they had a connection to this energy field that gave them heightened senses and enhanced perception and all the different things that the Force could do.
Force, yeah.
Kind of
Exactly.
like what the Bendu says of how Jedi and Sith wield the Ashla and Bogan. I am the one in the middle, the Bendu.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is, there is actually a part in the part I'm working on right now where Poe and I believe it's Wedge, if I remember correctly, go to the complex where Luke and his group are at, and they say, "Hey, our scanners have been picking up some really weird readings, and we don't know what the heck is going on. What's going on?" And essentially, they have gone through this cache of ancient Jedi or Force wielder holocrons that really pieces together what happened and really gives a lot of foundational teaching to how the first several generations of Force wielders were taught and all the knowledge that they accumulated. And Luke and his group have realized that they have been hamstrung in a lot of ways.
I have a question.
Sure.
Wedge, with how long he's been around, wouldn't he have seniority over Poe?
Yeah.
Well, they're equal. They're both generals.
Like, I think Wedge would be high commanding general, and
yes,
and
yeah,
or as in I'm trying to think. He basically would have become Admiral Wedge at this point, and then
yeah,
and then Poe would have been General Poe or whatever.
Yeah,
General
but I just to keep it simple for everybody, I just term him as General Antilles and General Dameron. Everything, of course, General Calrissian as well. So
yeah,
and
I mean, you've really well thought out your fiction. I look forward to watching it. I mean, it's better than well thought out than mine. I mean, I didn't even think of putting Ahsoka and Grogu in mine, but this is pre-season 2 of Mandalorian, and because what I did for the whole thing of, like I said, for mine, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but
no, you're fine.
Mine idea was, keep Farce Awakens and Last Dumpster Fire in there and basically retcon them both. And I told you the thing about First Order split in half, and then the Resistance has rebuilt its factions. Plagueis is a twist character. I thought it'd be an interesting idea if basically Rey, Finn, and Poe, they've been fighting battles, trying to rescue worlds in the First Order, and they go to one of the Jedi temple worlds, and then Rey, all of a sudden, like when she gets in contact with the Force artifact, like kind of has almost like a stroke, and then she kind of regains her composure, but she then has trouble wielding the Force. She's like, wait, what's going on? And they're completely surrounded by stormtroopers. They're losing all their forces to them. There's just like 5 or 7 of them. Then out of nowhere, as the stormtroopers are taking aim, a hooded, a cloaked figure wielding a purple lightsaber comes out and just starts mowing down these stormtroopers, pulling their blasters out and cutting them down. And then they basically are like, okay, who are you? Are you a friend or an enemy? We're glad that you took down those stormtroopers, but who are you? And then the person pulls back their hood and down falls to their chest, long flowing red hair, and she's like, my name is Mara Jade.
Dude, that's awesome.
And then
brought in, dude, that is
awesome. I love
she's my favorite character out of the books of the EU. And then she's like, wait, you are a Jedi, talking to Rey specifically. We need more of our kind. There's so few of us left. We must speak with my master. And then they travel to another planet. They do travel to Typhon, and it's been so far along since a lot of people have forgotten about it. And then Mara walks up to her master, who's like just sitting on the cliff meditating, and then she's like, Master, there's someone here that I think you'd like to talk to. And like I said, Last Jedi would have happened how it is, and then so this master gets up and turns around, and who is it? It's Luke. Like as we saw him at his little forced Skype call, and they're like, wait a minute, we thought Luke died, and Rey said something along the lines of, wait a minute, I thought you were dead. I felt you disappear from the Force. I couldn't feel you anymore. She's like, and he just basically explains, that wasn't me. That was my clone. And this would be hard to execute through film because, it'd be exposition heavy. Basically, the explanation of the Luke we saw at the end of Force Awakens and The Last Jedi wasn't Luke. It was a clone of Luke created by Snoke/Plagueis through cloning technology and dark side alchemy because he didn't think Kylo would be able to kill Luke because he thought maybe his attachment to Luke would prevent him from doing so, and he's not strong enough. So he had a clone of Luke do this because, that way the clone would be able to track Luke through the Force down to Ahch-To through their connection. And basically the clone has a bit of an identity crisis where he thinks he's the real Luke, taking a page I can't believe I'm saying this, taking a page from the 90s Spider-Man clone saga, and basically fake Luke tries to kill Luke, but Luke whoops his butt instantly. But Luke has to his X-Wing has been crippled by the clone, but Luke senses a disturbance in the unknown region, so he takes the clone ship and leaves him in peace to think over his, like, you can be redeemed, basically, heads to the unknown regions because he sent Mara there to kind of find out about what's happened to Snoke and the First Order and whatnot. And the reason why Luke's been gone so long isn't just because, I felt so bad about Ben destroying my academy. It's because he's been trying to carefully study as much Jedi lore as he can because he's known that this is Plagueis that's been, has brought himself back in the Force. He thinks, how do I defeat someone who cannot die? And he's been trying to study as much Jedi scripture as he can in order to figure out how to stop someone who can cheat death. And that's why he's been gone for 20-something years.
Remember, The Last Jedi, it is shown he has the Journals of the Wills.
Yeah.
I just want to say, I'm if you guys want to do your fan fictions individually for now, that's up to you. But it sounds like maybe, like in the future, you guys should work on a project together because you guys know so much about the bloody lore and like. I don't know much about Mara Jade, but I like the way Ace was describing that whole scene. Like,
read the Thrawn trilogy, really cool. Dude. I'm telling you, read the Thrawn trilogy.
Hang on, Ace. You mentioned Mara Jade, and I thought, weren't Mara and Luke in other content in a relationship and the same age?
Yeah, they would be married because, believe me, that's the one Star Wars couple that I do ship other than Revan and Bastila. And Han and Leia, so I'm a liar when I say the one couple, but they're my favorite ship. Basically, Mara would sort of say, my master, that way no one would know that she's married to Luke because kind of Luke would marry her in secret. That way it wouldn't really get out necessarily, so his enemies wouldn't find out and use his attachment to her as a potential way of getting to him and turning him to the dark side or turning her to the dark side.
Would she really still have this long red hair, though, at that age?
Well, even when she was killed in the books, okay, spoiler, Illy, I'm sorry. She still was a redhead. She was still a redhead. And in fact, come to think of it, there's my mom's friend Cassandra. She's about 60-something. I could be wrong. It could be dyed, but she still has red hair. Have you ever come across that many gingers that don't have red hair, even in their 50s and 60s?
Exactly. Well,
actually, my grandpa.
Sorry. Ace could literally just write in his fan fiction. Mara Jade, although she's aged, she uses tresemme conditioner. It's not that hard.
And not to mention,
I think joke. Sorry about that.
And I think being a Jedi, unlike being a Sith, you'd be more not filled with the Force energy, you know, like you're trying to make yourself more youthful and whatnot. It's just because you're living in harmony with the Force and whatnot, you're going to be kind of more youthful and strong in certain ways. Whereas the Sith, you know, the dark side twists your flesh and ages you and whatnot.
I don't know about how good of a Jedi Mara Jade is in terms of how much she's on the light side, but I do know this is like the most pure Jedi who's ever lived was actually a lady with blonde hair, and Stupendous Wave made a video on it. You guys probably know the lore so well. You know who I'm talking about. And she went on a mission with Obi-Wan. She went on a mission with Obi-Wan during the prequels, and she ended up dying.
I know who you're talking about.
I have no idea.
She's very old, but she literally looks like she's like 25 in the picture that was in the video.
Interesting.
I feel like this sounds like someone that one of my friends is named. Did Ace say the name?
What?
Probably, but yeah, I don't remember. So.
I didn't say
it's probably Legends. It's probably not canon. It's probably Legends now.
No, I've heard of this. Wait, was this the character in the story reels? Was this character in the story reels for the incomplete Clone Wars story reels?
I subbed you, Ambassador.
Oh, thank you.
I'm not sure.
And I
Josh.
What?
Josh, sorry. Before I let you talk, sorry. I've seen your request to follow me on Twitter. I will accept it. It's just I can't right now because while on stream,
I think your audio cut out, dude.
Guys, I just want to say real quick, I'm going to have to leave here in a few minutes because I've got work in the morning.
Cool.
But this has been a real blast, and it was a pleasure to meet all of you. And well, shoot. And then there was just two. I'll wait a minute until Josh or Elliot.
I want to say one thing before Ambassador leaves. So earlier you mentioned Grogu is like a force nuclear weapon.
In a sense, yes.
Actually, I've had I've been talking about my animations.
Yes.
I have had the ending planned since the beginning 2 years ago. And it is that Throck Veils, aka Vitiate, aka Tenebrae, aka Valkorian, Plague, whatever you want to call him, Snoke, he uses the Force and basically nukes the entire galaxy, wipes the slate clean, and rebuilds the galaxy with the Force to allow the old species to reemerge, and then finally removes his anchor from the galaxy and leaves.
Interesting. Well, in terms of
I'm going to cut that out of my video because that's a major spoiler.
Well, the thing for me, Grogu, like I said, he's not a lightsaber combatant. He's going to be like he's going to be more. His abilities are going to be more focused on Force abilities and so on. That's how he will participate in combat. One thing that I've kind of built into him, I haven't referenced it specifically yet, but he's going to be a master of battle meditation. Because I think that would be a very good ability for someone, for a character like him, and he's going to be able to do all sorts of now that Luke and his group have learned to perceive the Force not in terms of light and dark, but as a unified whole. They're going to be able to do things that have not been seen in generations in terms of what the Force can do.
Yeah, and you're talking about battle. In my story, I'm gonna have Ahsoka and a couple of my original characters by the names of Angel and Hannah. Hannah is the master, Angel is the apprentice, and actually, even Angel's father Kaya, who is also a Jedi. And actually, both of Angel's parents were Jedi, but that's a bit of a sidebar. But I'm gonna have these guys all know battle meditation, and Ahsoka. I feel like battle meditation really fits Ahsoka's character.
I've got something special planned for her.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've got her training. I've got her training Finn in lightsaber combat, and working with Rey as well. Because I've even got Luke still. He can still move. He can still move pretty good for his age in terms of lightsaber as a lightsaber
And
combatant.
actually, I've told people I'm not gonna include Finn, Rey, or any of those people.
That's fair.
But I actually do plan. This never leaves anyone who sees this beyond anyone who sees this video. I plan on bringing Finn in and having him be related to Mace Windu.
That'd be cool. I could see
that. Small galaxy after all.
Whose character I am totally revamping. Mace Windu will not be anywhere near the same character he was in canon. Because I honestly hate Mace Windu.
Oh, come on. I know he's kind of a douche in the Clone Wars, but still.
Mace Windu, more like douche Windu. Got
And I just, before you go, I just wanted to mention a couple, like, since you had mentioned some of the conceptual things of how you would incorporate into the story with like Grogu and battle meditation. Like, one thing I want for my fanfiction I wanted to incorporate was like how, as Luke's reading the Jedi text, he realizes, he thinks where the Jedi went wrong was how they became very dogmatic in terms of like only training younglings who had not formed attachment with their parents, and like basically only people who are strong with the Force. Like, basically they're choosing like the less difficult route of people who are naturally talented as opposed to just Force sensitive in general. And only if they're very strict, like only youth and oriented and whatnot, like kind of in a way, like they're choosing the Jedi choosing the quick and easy path, which is the way of the dark side, the way of the Sith. And Luke basically switches to train anyone that's Force sensitive, even if they're an adult, and just teach them patience and to use their attachments with their Jedi brethren, no matter what age, to basically ground them, to anchor them.
Because because I'm going to have an epilogue as well. And I already have my ending in mind, where this is all going to lead and how it's going to conclude. In my epilogue, I'm actually going to have it where Rey and Finn, they become kind of like explorers who go out into the galaxy looking for other Force sensitives, and essentially, in time, they will rise to the level of masters themselves, because eventually Luke is going to get old and he's going to want to move on or just retire or whatever. But the Force wielder order as it once was will be rebuilt. And everything that Luke and the Force ghosts and everything have discovered, along with Grogu and Ahsoka and Rey and Finn and Ben, they will be the foundation of this new Force wielder order. But the thing I'm going to put in that I actually liked from the Yuzong Vong storyline, the Force wielders will no longer be at the behest or the service of the Republic. They will be separate.
Neutral. The Jedi should be neutral.
They will be separate, but they will be there if they are needed, which is what they were supposed to be all along.
So, but yeah,
Ace,
man.
Ace, sorry, Ambassador. Before you go, I just wanted to mention, it's like this sounds irrelevant. It's like Batman says at the end of the second Injustice. You know, like the Justice League was formed because we wanted to protect people.
Yes.
Okay, I want to say this, and then I'm gonna end right after right as Ambassador leaves. Yeah. But Ace mentioned earlier that the whole Jedi couldn't form attachments before they were younglings thing. This remember how I mentioned earlier my original character Hannah? She's a Twi'lek, and she was 8 years old before she even discovered she had Force abilities. And she watched as her older brother basically her family had just, except for her older brother, had just returned from a market on Ryloth to their home.
Mhm.
Hannah, one of her friends, showed up, and the rest of her family went and walked in the door, which was booby trapped. So Hannah had watched her family get blown up by a trap that her older brother had set. And then this is where Kaya, who will become Hannah's master, shows up, and he brings Hannah into the Jedi Order. 8 years old, she'd already met her family, but they still made an exception because of how powerful her Force abilities were revealed to be, and it will be shown in the animation how her Force abilities kind of come to play and how the Jedi actually end up on Ryloth after this happens. So that's just a fun little tidbit that I thought I'd mention right before the end of this.
And I
That
appreciate
is
it.
interesting.
And
Right.
I do want to mention one thing, and I do want to say, Ace, thank you for sending that link, and thank you for having me on this evening. Like I said, it's been kind of a long day for me, but I appreciate it, and I really enjoyed our conversation. And I do want to do one real quick thing before I go. I do this for all my milestones and everything. Once I hit a certain subscriber count and everything, I usually do like a karaoke night or a watch party or whatever. When I hit my next milestone, which will be 400, I'm going to be doing a watch party for a favorite movie of mine. It's called The Last Starfighter. I don't know if y'all have ever heard of it or familiar with it. Have you?
I'll be there.
Yeah.
It's an 80s film. It's a great 80s film. It's, like I said, it's a cult classic and everything. It's a favorite of mine from my childhood. So if you fellas would like to be a part of that and everything, I will reach out to you on either Twitter or Discord and everything. And thank you again. This has been a great. It's been a lot of fun.
All right, man.
And before Ambassador,
Yeah.
gonna say,
Thank you for joining us.
thanks for joining.
Yeah,
But
thanks.
everyone out there watching, I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, be sure to leave a like down below, comment, subscribe, and all that fun stuff.
What they
Press
said.
the bell to be notified. Follow my social media. Go subscribe to Ace and Ambassador, and join my Discord server as well. Be sure
I have.
click all the links
Same.
to click all the links below, and have a safe and wonderful rest of your evening.
Yeah.
Peace out, everybody.
Yeah. Bye. And
Peace and long life.
well, I'll end the broadcast, but I want to tell you guys something after the
Bye,
broadcast
Ambassador.
itself ends. So just don't go yet, but I'm gonna end the broadcast.
Okay,
So
I can stick around for like a minute or two, but then I'm gonna have to leave.
all right. So thanks everyone for joining us. Peace out. Like and subscribe and hit that bell notification. Bye. Okay, I think that ended the broadcast. Oh.